Order. Today's date is February 19th, and it's 6:13 p.m. Can we please have roll call?
Yes. Board Chair Quiroz.
Present.
Board Member Lopez.
Present.
Board Member Hanley in Oakland, one of our satellite campuses.
Yes, I'm here.
Great.
Okay, that's 3 of 5 reporting. Quorum is established.
Okay. Item number 2, the approval of the agenda. Are there any recommended changes or additions, deletions to the agenda?
This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. Not hearing any, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented. Is there a motion?
I'll move approval.
Okay, a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? No. Approval of the agenda has been accepted. 3.0 announcement. Board calendar updates. Nick, is that something?
I can speak to that real briefly.
Oh, okay.
Is the microphone on?
Doesn't sound like it.
I
So
think
the-
everybody could hear them.
We're good. So the reason, well, maybe for the film.
Can you hear back?
The reason for this announcement item is noting that we have 6 schools, 3 in Richmond, 3 in Oakland, as everybody knows. The regulation is that the region in which you have most students is the region where you're to hold the meeting. Currently, we have more students in Richmond. Enrollment, it's very close. I think it was by 6 students. Enrollment being what it is, going back and forth, it's just to serve that it's very important for us as an organization to post clearly on our schedule, or rather the agenda where the meeting is to be held, because this is kind of a moving target. So we'll be updating the schedule as it is. The site is TBD, basically forever, and the agenda is going to tell you exactly where the meeting is to be held, and it's based on our enrollment. So today Richmond has more, so we're here in Richmond. If next time Oakland has more, we'll be in Oakland.
Okay. And, I'm sorry, question, David. So, how much in advance of the next meeting will the site be identified?
As the agenda is posted, 72 hours
Okay.
before the meeting.
Okay.
And if we're very certain earlier, we can make note earlier as well on the website.
Okay. Any other comments on item number 3.0? Okay. 4.0, the consent calendar. We have 2 approvals of the board meetings for December the 16th and January the 9th of 2020. I do believe that there is a correction on the December 16th meeting when board member Gil Lopez was introduced. He was introduced as a retired Richmond police officer. The correction is that he is a retired BART police officer. So we just wanted to indicate that on the minutes. Okay. Are there any other edits or changes, corrections on the minutes? Okay, not hearing any. I'd like to entertain a motion to accept both the December 16th and the January 9th meeting agenda, board minutes.
So we move forward with both the December 16th and the January 9th minutes.
Okay, hearing a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, to vote. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Item approved, board minutes. 5.0, the public comment open session. Do we have public comment cards?
We have 3 public comment cards for item number 5.0. We have Mr. Don Gosney
Okay.
from Radio Free Richmond.
All right.
Good evening. First, I want to thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak. Not only am I representing Radio Free Richmond, an independent news source here in Richmond, but a number of but the community members constantly call me up, talk to me. They want to know what's going on at these charter school board meetings, and I try to, because I record them, I post them on YouTube, and I get quite a few views, including, as I found out last week, from the County Board of Education. They can't be here. In fact, I've had one of the board members call me 3 times so far today. They're interested in that. And to that, I'm going to ask, please speak into the microphones, because we're trying to record, and when the microphone is a couple of feet away, it just doesn't pick it up. I appreciate that. But one of the things I'd like to ask as a favor from me, myself, and from the public, please take a closer look at your website itself as far as accessing information about these meetings. Finding the agenda is not very hard, but finding the agenda packet items, it should be right there, the same page, so you just hit a different link. You shouldn't have to go to 3 or 4 other pages on the site to be able to find the packet items, because they think they're not even there. It's very important to put that on there. And when you list on your agenda, use more than 1 or 2 words to describe what the item is. Double check your Brown Act. It actually says you're supposed to have a sentence or 2 sentences, so it is clear what the item is going to be. Because how are we supposed to fill out a comment card or say we're going to show up and comment on something when we have no idea what is actually on your agenda packet? This is transparency. I know you want to be transparent. I'm just offering this as a suggestion to make that happen. And last thing is I heard something at the county board meeting the other day, which one of your people pointed out you've got 2,200 students at your 6 schools, except your websites 2 hours before said you still had 1,700. You might just want to think about updating your site so it's more reflective about the way things really are right now. It's little things that make a difference. You have to ask, who do we believe, your website or that person that just spoke? So anyway, thank you very much for your help on this.
Thank you.
We also have Ms. Maria Cuellar, who wants to...
Okay. Ms. Cuellar, please.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Mariela Cuellar y soy madre de Benito Juarez.
Good afternoon, I'm Mariela Cuellar and I'm a mother of children at Benito Juarez.
Creo que este
Are you
micrófono no sirve.
hearing that?
No,
It's like they're not on.
no está prendido.
Okay, well,
Check to them in the back.
can we check the mic here, please?
Actually, check all the mics.
Recording only.
Pardon me?
The mic is for recording only.
Okay, but are you picking it up?
I'll find out tonight.
Okay,
Thank you. Thank you for asking, though.
okay.
Bueno, yo siempre he venido a las mesas directivas y pues me da gusto que el señor Stefan esté diciendo que las reuniones se van a basar en cuántos estudiantes estén registrados. No entiendo muy bien eso porque cada mes va a cambiar. Bueno.
I always have come to the meetings of the board, and I was glad to hear Mr. Stefan say that the meetings are going to be based on how many students are in attendance, although I don't really understand how that works because then each month it will change.
Para mí, lo ideal sería, como lo he dicho siempre en las mesas directivas, que se turnen, porque tienen 3 escuelas en Richmond y 3 en Oakland.
The ideal solution for me, and I've always said this to the board, is that you take turns because there's 3 schools in Richmond and 3 schools in Oakland.
Bueno, como yo también voy a la página de línea y también encuentro discrepancias. Una cosa dice el website, otra cosa dicen las personas y también la agenda, ayer que vine la encontré. La agenda se tiene que postear 72 horas a la reunión.
And with respect to the page online, I also have found discrepancies. For example, sometimes there's one information on the page online, and then the people are saying a different thing. For example, yesterday I found the agenda, but the agendas have to be posted 72 hours prior to the meeting.
Una cosa que siempre les he pedido es que seamos consistentes para que nosotros también los padres participemos en las mesas directivas y sepamos lo que está pasando en nuestras escuelas. Yo creo que si nos involucramos y estamos pendientes de lo que está pasando en las mesas directivas, vamos a saber lo que está pasando en nuestras escuelas, aquí en Richmond o en Oakland.
And one thing that I've always asked for is consistency, so that we, the parents, can be involved in the board, and so that we can know what's going on in our schools. I think that if we're involved in what's happening in the board, then we'll know what's going on in our schools.
Una cosa que les quiero decir es que ayer y hoy fui a observar las clases de mis hijas, ellas están en 4º grado.
One thing that I wanted to mention was yesterday and today I went to observe my daughter's classes. They're in 4th grade.
Me dio mucho gusto ir porque pude ver, pero en un día yo sé que no voy a saber realmente lo que está pasando, pero me dio alegría ver a los maestros. A 4º C, que es una maestra sustituta de mi hija, a una de las gemelas.
I was very happy to be able to go because I was able to see what was happening, but I know that one day I won't be able to go to know what's going on. I was glad to see one of the teachers in 4C, one of my twins' classes. She's a temporary teacher.
Sustituta.
Oh, a substitute teacher.
Y también a Mr. Tiger, que es en 4º C, me dio mucho gusto ver cómo ellos están enseñando. Para mí fue el 70% de logros, de muy buenas cosas que vi, pero el 30% hay muchos retos.
And I was also happy to see Mr. Tiger, who's in 4C, and I like to see that the way that they were teaching there. I would say 70% were achievements, but there is 30% that are challenges.
Mr. Tiger en 4B y Ms. Meshach en 4º C. Ajá, Meshach.
No, it's actually Mr. Tiger in 4B and Ms. Meshach in 4C.
Entonces me dio gusto ir y por favor si ustedes pueden ir a los salones como mesa directiva y observar no solo los salones, también a los alrededores y el ambiente. Gracias.
And so I was happy to be able to do that, and if you all can go to the classroom to observe as members of the board, not only to the classrooms but also to the surrounding area, it would be good. Thank you.
Gracias.
And that's it for public comment.
Okay, let me just check from, well, are there any more public comment? Then the clock is not working, so you're able to catch it. Okay, you want to make sure that she, Ms. Clay, I got the 4 minutes. Okay, good, thank you. Okay, item 6.1, the LCAP update. Who's going to give that?
Good evening, members of the board. But Mr. Johnny was going to do this presentation with the superintendents from one of the regions, but I'll go ahead and fill in until he gets here. So in your briefing sheet, you saw that the LCAP is critical, especially when it becomes about local control funding and how we spend our monies with the different titles. Different titles of the schools, Title I, 2, and 3 are big buckets for us. And so right now the leaders are putting together LCAPs for the parents to see and the staff to see as we go into budget times with starting to allocate different funds to different buckets. In your folder, we went ahead and put all the school sites' LCAPs for you guys to look at, and they've been working tediously with those, especially with the dashboard coming out, and making sure that we also adhere to the new AB 1505 as we go forward with different renewals that will be approaching the different schools. We went ahead and put 6 different LCAPs in your Dropbox folder. I have the leaders here that could come up. I know there's 6 schools. We wanted to time it 5 minutes apiece, 3 minutes apiece. I know there'll be questions. But every year we have to do an LCAP. We have to give it to our authorizer and have it approved before July 1st. And so we work with these quarterly, based off what we are spending on our different categories, and also making sure we hit all the priority work that the state has put on the schools in general in California. So with that, I will leave the leadership team to come up. It depends on how Mr. Vaca wants to maybe, what school wants to go up first. How would you like for that to happen? Or maybe the president wants to.
Well, Ms. Forrester, why don't we have you come first?
Oh, Mr. Bori, it's your login. Let me see if I can
It's right there on that post-it right there.
Oh, got you.
So sorry.
Is it case sensitive?
I don't think so.
Thank you.
There it goes. Kind of.
Sorry, have a little bit of technical difficulty here.
Hate when that happens. You can see it at the bottom.
Oh, it's not.
The presentation is, you guys have the copy of the presentation? And if, yes, it's that one. We also have copies over here for public, so you can start.
I'll try to put it up on my computer too, so watch you talk. Go ahead and get started.
Oh, okay, well, you can see it, and I know it.
And I know. Okay.
I'm happy to.
You got it? Okay.
All right, so apologies for those technical difficulties. It looks like everybody's at least got a copy on paper. You'll notice that the template for all of the AMETHOD schools are the same. It's because EdTech provided a workshop on the LCAP to us, and so we thought that it would be better organizationally to keep all of our data housed in a similar format and similar fashion. So for the LCAP 2019 for Oakland Charter High School, there's an overview of our dashboard indicators here. You can see under our academic performance indicators for OCHS. Perfect. So for OCHS, everybody can see that we are at 55.5 points above the standards. I apologize because I can't read it off this paper either. For our English language, and we are in the green for our English language arts, and in mathematics we are 0.6 points above the standard, and we are also in the green. Our English language learner progress shows that 51.2% of our ELLs are making progress towards English language proficiency. However, I care to quibble with that because out of 22% of our English language learners this year were reclassified on the LCAP as being English language fluent, so they've been making progress. So I'm not quite sure how those numbers came about. So, and 60.9% of our students are college and university prepared, although our graduation rate is much higher, and our college acceptance rate and our college attendance rate is much higher. So moving on, we can see that the graduation rate for Oakland Charter High School last year was 91.2% of our students graduated for that cohort class. Our current attendance, our attendance cumulative total for last year was 95.4%, and our cumulative attendance to date so far this year is 95.999%. The AMPS organization has a goal of 97% attendance for all of its schools. The California dashboard does not record dashboard information for high schools around attendance, but attendance is a key indicator of academic engagement. So we're very proud of the fact that we have our cumulative total at 95.99%. That's better comparatively than any of the charters in our general area, and it's better than any of the Oakland Unified School District schools as well for comparative analysis. So our suspension rate is a little bit in the orange. We were going through a culture climate shift last year. I took over Oakland Charter High School after it had had a number of different leaders in a short amount of time, and we needed to reset the culture of the school, and so we had a slight increase in our suspension. But our suspension report is back down. It's actually lower than even this year, than even the increase. So here's our current data, and this really shows us where we are. This is a snapshot of today. Our enrollment is 468 students. Our current suspension rate is 2%. Our chronic absenteeism rate for OCHS this year to date is 3.75%. Our EL reclassification rate is 22%. 7.2% of the children we serve are special education students. Also in our dashboard it says that 10.2% are special education services students. So I'm not, again, a little unclear as to where they got that data. Socioeconomically disadvantaged students account for 75.91% of the students at Oakland Charter High School. We actually know that that number is closer to 90%. However, we have difficulty getting students and parents to fill out the applications required for the free and reduced lunch programs. One of the reasons parents are concerned about filling out those applications is because of the current climate in the United States around immigrants, and that we serve a predominantly immigrant population at Oakland Charter High School, and those families are very concerned about immigration authorities getting access to their information. So they just decline to fill out those reports, even though their students do qualify for free and reduced lunch and do need that. In fact, I've even opened up a small line item part of my budget to provide snacks for the students at Oakland Charter High School. So in my office, I keep granola bars and other approved snacks for students who are hungry. And I would say that we're going through approximately $375, sometimes $400 per month feeding these students who come to school hungry and who just don't feel comfortable filling out those forms. We also make the snacks available during our after-school programs, including clubs, character reflection time, and athletics. So this shows the SBAC data over a 3-year comparison in English language arts and mathematics, on trend with the rest of the state of California. You'll notice that there's been a dip in our scores. The dip for the 2019 scores we attribute to a number of factors, including the Common Core alignment, with the examinations being Common Core aligned. We also attribute the dip in part to that culture shift that was happening at the school last year. So our initiatives this year around the CASP English Language Arts is an instructional focus on literacy across the curriculum and using academic discourse. We have Achieve 3000, which is a literacy program, and every student at Oakland Charter High School has 8 Achieve 3000 lessons per month. These lessons take place in the core curriculum classes, primarily English, social studies, and then advisories as well. Physical education classes also offer an Achieve lesson once a week. And we've changed our master schedule and made it so that we no longer are tracking students in the history classes, and so all of the students at Oakland Charter High School take AP World History, all sophomores.
That's the one.
I will notice that the teacher who is teaching the English students has already gained 40 points on the literacy program, according to Achieve 3000 for the current cohort of our junior class. So we're making great strides. For our OCHS math initiatives, we are focusing on college preparatory math as an organization. We adopted a program focused, a new curriculum. We are working to implement that program with fidelity. It's a struggle whenever you implement a new curriculum, but the cognitive lift of CPM is more around students doing the thinking rather than the teacher. It's more project-based, and students are doing the thinking rather than the teacher just telling them. Another key component of our initiative is to retain our highly qualified math teachers. So we have several credentialed math teachers at Oakland Charter High School who are strong and are ambitious to retain them. We also have differentiated master scheduling, and we've hired math-focused paraeducator support for all of our students. So we provide cushion support in the classroom. So paraeducators go into the classroom with the teachers and work individually with small groups of students who need extra support. In addition, paraeducators are available throughout the school day to those students and are available for tutoring and extra support after school. Our OCHS readiness goals are that 100% of our senior class will apply to college. Currently, we have, out of 107 seniors, 2 seniors have not applied to college. Both of those seniors are on independent study courses, and it's hard for us to get their parents to come to school to finish up the college application process, so that was a difficulty. We would like for 90% of our students to be accepted into a 4-year university or college of their choice. We do recognize that because of economic constraints, many of them will choose junior college as an option. However, we want them to be able to matriculate to a 4-year school and be prepared for that. We're hopeful that this year we will have 100% of our graduating class graduate on time, and that 90% of all OCHS graduates will graduate with A to G requirements ready. And A to G requirements mean that they will be ready to attend a 4-year university should they be accepted and have the financial wherewithal or have earned the scholarships necessary. So our college readiness initiatives include CSU and UC readiness and graduation rates and an additional college counselor. One of the things that's brand new to OCHS this year, I'm very proud of it, is that we're doing college level field trips for each grade level. We took the seniors to San Francisco State last fall, and we paid for them to enjoy a meal in the San Francisco State student dorms. They met with the EOP office, and they came back ready to apply to college, every single one of them. We had students come into my office crying, saying, "Miss Forrester, I never thought about college before." So this last month, we took the juniors to Sacramento State and to UC Davis. We rented buses, and again, we ate in the student dining hall. We're having those same conversations with the juniors. It's really proving to be a worthwhile expenditure. Our sophomore class next month on the 19th will be visiting the University of San Francisco and enjoying a catered lunch there on their greens and meeting with the EOP office and having a panel. And then our freshman class will be treated on April 1st, not April Fools for them, but they'll be treated to a trip to UC Berkeley where they're going to be with the La Raza and African American recruitment and retention offices, and they're going to have a panel, they're going to have tours of the campus, and they're also going to eat in the school's dining hall. In addition to that, we provide after-school workshops for our parents, including Cash for College, FAFSA, and DREAM Act, and college application workshops. So we've had our parents, I'm very proud of our parents, community, and the hard work on the staff of the OCHS for helping our parents through this process. Again, in the same way that a lot of people are afraid right now to apply for free and reduced lunch, people are afraid to apply for the DACA and DREAM Act applications, even though they are legally entitled to this money. So the FAFSA money is there for our students, and our students are entitled to it. And so we've done a lot of work building trust with our parent community so that we can get them to fill out these important college-age applications. And I'm very proud to say that out of 107 seniors, we only have 8 who have not yet submitted their FAFSA or DREAM Act applications to the state. And we're whittling that down. I talked to one student today, and he told me that he had sent it in, and he showed me proof today. So that makes 7. But it really is about taking the time to build those relationships with the community that we serve, and really for the parents to trust us and know that we are going to be good stewards of their children and the education, you know, and their information. So our LCAP goals are that Oakland Charter High School students will develop as critical, creative, global thinkers with strong college-ready skills in math, reading, and writing. This is aligned to our WASP goals as well. Last year we were granted a 6-year WASP renewal process. And then we're working very hard to create a school culture that fully engages all stakeholders to achieve our vision and mission. I will say that it is a struggle to get our parents involved to come to the meetings. We hold meetings in the evening. We offer childcare. We have our Link Crew students offer childcare, and we provide dinner. And yet and still, it's difficult for the families who we serve because many of them work very long hours. And so coming to school in the evening is sometimes difficult. But we're doing pretty well, and we've got a nice parent event upcoming next month where there will be folks from the community coming in presenting on a variety of topics such as internet safety, keeping kids safe in the age of electronics and the internet, and sexual education, health, other kind of parenting workshops. And we have folks from IWAY, which serves primarily the Asian American community in Oakland, and folks from La Clínica de la Raza coming in as well. So this year we intend to meet our IEP goals. I'm proud to say that we are. We have an implementation of standards-aligned curriculum, instruction across the curriculum. Our reclassification rate of English learners is very strong this year, shows great progress. Our kickboard data and a decrease of office referrals. You can see that our suspension rate is at 2% compared to 5% last year at this time. So we're really making great strides in that area. We've also seen a dip in our chronic absenteeism, and we're seeing achieve 3,000 literacy growth across the grade levels, cohort by cohort. Our attendance goal is 97% as an AMS org-wide goal. And currently, our attendance for last month was 94.999%. And that's even though the flu is happening right now. So that's pretty good for high school. We're doing well. Okay, so a huge focus of our work this year is around recruiting and retaining high-quality instructional staff, providing expert special education services. We have a strong special education department at Oakland Charter High School. They've been there longer than I have, and they are a dedicated, credentialed team. To offer English language development through professional development for all of our teachers, including around instruction and implementation of appropriate assessments for English language learners and appropriate supports for English language learners. We are working hard to meet our teachers' professional development goals, such as sending teachers to AP workshops. And we have a literacy specialist, Sarah Veloz, has been working with us on helping to improve literacy across the curriculum in all the classes. Parent engagement is a big priority, attendance tracking and support, so we send out letters every month to students who are absent chronically, and I hold meetings personally with those families to try to figure out what is it that you need. So today, for example, we bought 10 clipper cards for students who can't afford to get to school. So the school has a small line item budget to ensure that those children, transportation should not be a barrier in this country to get a child to school. Every child has a right to get to school. We keep our facilities safe and well maintained. We've been using the PSAT benchmark assessment to determine where our students are, and that's in concert with John Henry High School. We're using the Achieve 3K literacy program. We offer standards aligned materials. We had a large number of textbooks purchased this year. A big chunk of our budget went to upgrading some of the textbooks, particularly in the social studies department. So our response to intervention and student supports, we have our Matador check-in and connect system. So any student who's struggling 3 or more classes is assigned to an individual mentor. That mentor meets with that student every single week, checks his or her backpack, and makes sure that their school supplies are organized, checks in with their teachers, how are they doing, are they attending tutorial, and then make sure, this is the critical component, to call that parent and check in with that parent so that parent knows how well his or her child is doing so that we can work in partnership with the families we serve. And that's part of our early intervention strategy. In addition, as I was stating before, we offer small group instructional push-in support and after-school character reflection time. Any question?
Yes, I have 4.
Yes.
On the academic performance,
Yes.
where I see that we have for English and math 55.5 points above and the 0.6 above for mathematics. But right below that, there's an indication that there's a decline. Can you talk a little bit about what you think, even though we reached that threshold and exceeded it, what explains that decline?
There's a lot of different, that's an excellent question. So there's a lot of different variables involved in student testing, and part of it is that whether or not kids take the testing seriously and whether or not they're invested in it. As I mentioned before, last year was a little bit of a difficult year for Oakland Charter High School. The kids were, shall we say, unaccustomed to having a leader who has a strong backbone. And so we had a number of students on campus who weren't taking their school seriously, weren't taking academics seriously, and so part of that decline is just because some of the kids just weren't invested in the testing itself. I think also we could have done a better job with the testing. We informed parents, we provided snacks for the kids. However, I think there's always more that you can do, and this year we're looking at some alternative ways in which we give the test. So one of the things that's happened around master scheduling in the past is that we give the test, whatever teacher happens to have this period or teaches this whole group of students is that teacher who gives them the test. But what if the kids don't have a great relationship with that teacher? Research shows that kids test better with somebody who they trust. So all of our juniors this year will be taking the TAFS test with Mr. Reynolds. Mr. Reynolds is the teacher who they had last year as sophomores. He chose to grow with them. They chose to grow with him. So instead of administering the test in one chunk of 2 hours each day, we're going to be administering those exams in half-an-hour chunks with that teacher over an extended period of time to ensure that our learners have all the support that they need in order to perform well in these important assessments.
Thank you. Now, second question, regarding the parent meeting that you have scheduled coming up in the spring, and I don't know if it's appropriate, but is there any opportunity to talk about the importance of the Census 2020, which...
we are working with La Clinica around Census 2020.
Good.
I'm sorry, thank you. Yes, that's an excellent point, and we are. In fact, we have a mailer that's coming to our school, and they're going to be mailed out next week around the census. So we've been contacted by census groups. I don't want to provide our families' information and names and data to other people, so I told them that they can provide to me the letters and the envelopes and the stamps, and that my team and I will make sure that they get out to the communities that we serve.
Thank you. And last 2 questions regarding the college applications. I believe at last month's meeting, a presentation was done on the excellent partnership that was established with the historical black colleges and universities. Just curious, how has that played out in terms of the offering of the full scholarships?
So we don't know yet who's got which scholarships. However, there was a meeting last month. It took place, not last month, it was last week, and it took place at American Indian Charter around historical Black colleges and universities. And I personally reached out to every single family who we serve and made a personal phone call to each of those families and spoke to every single one of those parents to cordially invite them to attend. And all of our juniors attended that meeting who are eligible, and all of our seniors attended that meeting who are eligible. So we're very excited to see if any of our students won any of those scholarships. But I will say that in conversation with the students the next day at lunch, they said that they really enjoyed the presentation, enjoyed being in that environment, and that it was a worthwhile evening for them. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
Yeah, regarding the mentorship program you mentioned earlier, just curious, who are they and how are they selected?
Oh, that's a great question. So the mentors come primarily from our paraeducator pool. So, and we've been very intentional around hiring paraeducators who obviously have 4-year degrees, are interested in making a career in education. One of them has a master's degree from University of San Francisco in social justice and educational justice and equity. So she's kind of the person, her name is Tiara Frost, and she mentors the mentors, if you will. And it's her responsibility. She and I have a weekly check-in, and we go over what the week's priorities are, and then she brings those out to the team, and then the team carries that out with the students. Yeah, and so they're primarily our paraeducators. Some of our teachers also like to step in and help out. And then we also have our lunch crew. So our lunch manager and our lunch parent help, they also like to get involved, and we have 2 tutors who are involved in that as well. And that's more by self-selection and choice. Yeah. Any further questions?
Peter?
Yeah, I have a couple.
Thank you very much.
You mentioned you're doing the PSAT examinations.
Yes.
Did I understand that correctly?
Yes, we offer the PSAT to all of our 9th, 10th, and 11th graders this year.
Yeah, could you maybe furnish that data? I'm interested in kind of some growth data. You know, unfortunately, you know, the CASP is for high school students is kind of a one-time snapshot, very late in high school, and it has limited value.
Very much so, I agree.
And I guess I'm interested in taking a look at something that you know captures data as students are moving along through high school, and that's, you know, one way of capturing some data like that.
That's why Ms. Flores, the director of John Henry High School, and myself decided that the PSAT would be a more worthwhile method as an interim assessment to provide data to us. So we're offering it across both high schools to all 9th, 10th, and 11th graders. And then what we did at Oakland Charter High School is we disaggregated the data all the way down to what kinds of questions students are struggling with. Then we held a professional development workshop with our staff, and we shared that data with them and invited them to look at their curriculum and the questions and look specifically at what instructional strategies students are struggling with. So one of the things that we have learned from last year's data and this year's data is that students, for example, are not reading enough in sciences. And so getting kids to be reading standards-aligned text in the social sciences and in the physical and biological sciences is going to be critical to moving that data for them and ensuring that they're going to be more successful in college. So we are working with our teachers around that data, and our math team met individually in a small cohort to review that data and to look at where the breakdown and comprehension is so that they can adjust their planning and the moment-to-moment delivery of instruction.
Yeah, I'd be very interested in taking a look at some of that. I mean, you could just post it in the Dropbox for us to.
Sure, I'll be happy to share that data analysis with you.
That would be fine with me anyway.
I'll forward that to
Ms.
Ms. Ojo this
taking a
evening.
look at it, particularly in view of, you know, some of the declines that we've seen in the last 2 years. It would be useful to have that as additional context to what's going on at Oakland Charter High.
Absolutely.
The other question I had was when I was going through the dashboard, there's a component in there on climate, school climate, and it was talking about school climate, and there was a reference in there that talked about kids being concerned about bullying, and it kind of caught me as a surprise at the amount of concern on the campus about that. Can you maybe talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but I remember when I was reading it, it surprised me a little bit because I hadn't seen that previously, or I hadn't been cognizant of it in previous years at Oakland Charter High.
Sure. Well, according to the Healthy Kids Survey, over 70% of the kids, it was interesting data because some kids said that they felt safe at school overall, but then they also asked the question about whether or not you feel pressure or peer pressure. So those questions are asked in a variety of different ways if you're on the Healthy Kids Survey. And so we got some disconfirming data. On the one hand, over 90% of their kids said that they felt like there was at least one adult on campus who they could go to, that they felt that their school was a safe place, and yet somewhere in the 70th percentile of our students last year spoke to the need to have improved peer-to-peer relationships. So one of the things that we've done is use our advisories as a vehicle for that, to talk about building community with each other and really helping our students to build those social emotional learning skills and empathy and compassion. And we've also we're living in the age of the internet, and kids, a lot of the bullying takes place on the internet, sort of on the under. So this year I've had to deal with a number of incidences with primarily freshmen students who have been involved in bullying using online means outside of the school, but it's happening peer-to-peer. So they're bullying kids. They're not at school when they're doing this. They're doing it outside of school, but they're using social media to do it, and they're doing it to their classmates. So we've been doing campaigns around raising consciousness to what that means, both with our parent community, because I sometimes don't think our parents fully comprehend and apprehend how serious some of this stuff rises to. And so to educate our parent community and to educate primarily our young men around what's appropriate to post online, what's not appropriate, what's misogynistic, for example, what rises to the level of bullying. A lot of that bullying, the data show that it's more boys kind of bullying girls. So we've been addressing that in those ways, both with our parents and with our students directly.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll provide through that Dropbox that PSAT data, and if you'd like, I'm happy to provide the PD slides that were furnished to staff as well.
Okay, that'd be great.
Okay. Any further questions?
Thank you, Ms. Forrester.
Okay, thank you all very much for your time. I apologize for being a little long-winded.
No? Thank you. Thank you.
I'm going to bring John Henry up. John Henry's in an appeal, so I think you guys have seen over and over their data. Somebody's sick and tired of seeing it, but we will bring Ms. Flores up.
This Luddite a bit to get it together. Oh, okay.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Hello. So I'm gonna show you guys our dashboard data first. And I know that I've already presented many times on our data this year, so this might be a little bit repetitive. But the first thing that I want to start with is our SBAC scores for this previous year. This is an LCAP update, so I just want to first tell you guys what the LCAP, the 5 priorities, the 5 goals were, and then I'll be going into our data a little bit more in regards to each goal. And I'm also going to bring up Mr. Bori, he's one of our teachers, because we are planning an event that is tied to our school engagement and climate piece, or that specific goal. So I will be bringing him up as well as part of the presentation. So the first, all right, so our LCAP goals. The first goal is very similar to what we have done at OCHS, because we basically tried to mirror the 2 schools. We are sister schools. John Henry was modeled after OCHS, but obviously we have different community and different vibes, I guess I should say. So the first goal is regarding to providing high quality curriculum that is to support our college and career readiness objectives and our mission. So for that goal, we have our LCAP data. So in terms of English language arts. So for English language arts, compared to last year, we did increase. We've been increasing for ELA every year since we started taking the SBAC exam, the CAST exam. So we have seen an increase for ELA every year for the past 3 years. In terms of math, this is the first year that we did see a decline. So we went from 41% last year to 21% this year, and that is of students who are meeting or exceeding standards in mathematics. Part of the work that we do is trying to figure out why the decline in math. So in the summer when we first received our scores, we basically disaggregated the data. We were trying to make groupings and trying to figure out what happened. So the thing that we noticed was that in terms of communicating, there's 4 aspects of the SBAC, 4 main aspects. The one that was the lowest was communicative reasoning. So what we started doing in the summer was, okay, how are we providing instruction in the classroom? And what kind of initiatives can we do this year in order to make sure that our students are leaving high school prepared in both English and math? As I said, we did see that increase in English, and it seems like students are moving up in English. We have a very established curriculum, which is Springboard for English. For math, not so much. So what we decided to do at both of the high schools, because as you saw, we did see a decline in math as well for OCHS, we piloted a program called CPM, that's College Preparatory Math. So that's a task-based curriculum, which means that we have students form groups. The teacher is instructing, and they gradually release students to do the projects, to work on those aspects of being able to express and explain how to solve a certain problem, not just get to the answer. So that is what we're doing with CPM. We had a professional development for our math teachers just 2 weeks ago at John Henry, and I know that they're working with the representative from CPM at OCHS as well in order to bring that to OCHS. We also, at John Henry, this year, for the geometry and the algebra 2 classes, we made smaller groups. So instead of having 30 students in the classroom, 28 to 30 students in the classroom, right now we have no more than 15 students for both geometry and algebra 2. So those are the, we are seeing increases in algebra 1, but where the most of the students were having trouble with was the geometry and the algebra 2. So right now we have separated the sections, and we have about 15 students per section in the geometry and the algebra 2 classes. And then in terms of our support for that math curriculum and just the math department in general, we hired an additional dean of instruction who is right now working with the math department. We're doing data dives on a monthly basis to make sure that we try to figure out and pinpoint where are students struggling, what else can we do, do we need to go back and reteach certain skills. So that is what we're doing for that math decline that we saw. So we are expecting to go up in the next years. Hopefully John Henry gets renewed at the county. And then in terms of our English learner progress, I know that there's been a lot of talk about the school not having an EL program, an EL plan. We do have a robust EL plan. We are seeing progress. And one of the points that I wanted to show you guys, which is something that I've had a lot of questions on, is regarding that percentage. So at John Henry, we, based on the dashboard data that came out this year, we do see that we have the highest percentage of English language learners making progress towards proficiency, towards reclassification. So let me show you guys that. So this is the dashboard data. As the first one is for ELA. It says that we're on the yellow just because we, even though we are way above the state and the county and the district, it still shows yellow because they take into consideration how much, how many points or you grew from one year to another. So because it wasn't the amount of points that they wanted in order to mark as green, that's the reason why you see the yellow. For math, we went down, so we declined, so that's why you see the orange. So next year, if we move up, then it's gonna bump us to a yellow. And then for English learner progress over here, you see 56.3% making progress towards English language proficiency. That's for reclassification purposes, and that is the highest percentage in the district, whether charter or public traditional high school. So we have the highest percentage of English language learners making progress. In terms of our next, that's for our academic piece, which is the first goal on the LCAT. The next goal is regarding staff retention and professional development. As I told you before, we do have a professional development program. So every Friday we have minimum days at the schools. Once a month we have professional development. It depends on what we are seeing in the classroom. So we have 2 deans of instruction who are going into the classrooms, who are observing our teachers, debriefing with them, and figuring out what is it that we need to offer. We've had professional development since the summer with our AMP Summit, and from there we right now we are rolling out a survey that we want to give to all of our teachers. I think we're going to do it this Friday, where we tell them first semester is over, what did you like, what did you not like, what do you want to see for second semester as we start off moving into planning for next year, what is it that you want. So that is what we're going to do. We've had professional developments on English language learners, how to support them. We've had our SPED department come at the beginning of the year and do a presentation regarding accommodations in the classroom. And then in terms of staff retention, part of our survey data, that's what we're using in order to figure out what it is that we need to do in order to make sure that our teachers feel supported, that our teachers feel like they want to stay at our school. From last year to this year, we did see an increase in staff retention at John Henry, and that was around, I believe the staff retention number was around the high 60%, which increased from the previous year, which was really low. The amount of teachers who stayed from one year to the next was really low. So we are seeing increases. We obviously want to maintain a high number. Our current retention number is above that of other charter schools, the national charter school average. But we do want to make sure that we are doing more in order to retain our staff. So we have heard them regarding salary increase and that kind of, in terms of monetary compensation, we're looking at our career path and trying to figure out how to better our system in terms of career path applications and that program. So that's what we're doing right now in terms of that goal. The third goal is parent support and engagement. And right now, as Ms. Forrester was speaking, we do have parent nights coming up as well. Mr. Eaton, our American government teacher, he has been working with parents, with students, and with the community in terms of voting rights, in terms of the census coming up. We just had that meeting, I think it was in January, so about 4 weeks ago, where we brought them in. We had students help out with that as well. We had at the front, we had a lot of documents that went out to families. And then college night. So right now we are finishing our financial aid applications as well, and we're having a senior parent night in order to commemorate, celebrate the achievements of our seniors, because they applied to college. San Francisco State applications, the decisions already came out yesterday, so a lot of our students are giving me high fives when I see them in the hallway. So we're really proud of them. We want to invite their parents so that they can understand what does it mean to have your child leave the house and go off to college. So that's something that we are planning. Freedom. And we also have the African American Achievement Celebration that we are coming together with all charter schools in this area in order to also participate in that and celebrate our student achievement in regards to that.
Excuse me,
Yes.
please remind me the number of seniors at John Henry High?
Yes, we have 70 students, 71
Thank you.
71 seniors. And then our fourth goal, which is where I'm going to invite Mr. Bori to come up, it's regarding school culture and climate. So as part of he's also the advisor for student body government. So we've had students, this is the third year that we have a very robust student body government presence at the school. So they have been planning different events throughout the year. They are, right now, they are also leading spring formal. So that's something that's coming up at the school. We have seen from the student survey data that they want more field trips. They want more opportunities to go out into the community. They want more opportunities to go and take advantage of internships and get their college application into a better state by the time that they're seniors. So we are planning several field trips, one of them being the one that Mr. Bori is going to present on. And then we also have our big college field trip coming up in May, so we're going to come back up to the board to present on that one. And as you know, last year we took our first group of students, which was a combined effort with OCHS. We went to Southern California with juniors and seniors. So that trip really opened our eyes to even more possibilities. We have seen, especially at John Henry, students tend to stay in the area. So we want to expand their minds, expand what they're seeing. And that was one of the trips that we definitely want to continue if funding exists for it. And we want to make sure that students have that opportunity to see other places, to see other colleges. A lot of them haven't left this area, the Bay Area, so we definitely want to make sure that they're seeing other things. So Mr. Bori is going to present on one of the field trips that is coming up in April. So this is something that we will also bring back up to the board for approval. But right now we just wanted to give you a brief presentation of what it is. So if you can speak to the mic so that the other places can hear.
Thank you all for your time. So I was told 2 minutes on here, which I don't know. I'm hoping that's a little arbitrary. But this is actually, this field trip is something that, if you take a walk out back, we have a small garden. And if anybody wants some broccoli, have at it. So this is mostly designed around our garden advisory. As you can see, a Humboldt Redwood State Park spring break field trip. Trying to take 13 students with myself and one other teacher at the school on 3 nights and 4 days up north. So I don't know, probably you don't want me to read all this. But I did highlight the categories of things that I thought would be most appropriate. So the curriculum I would like to reinforce while on that trip. That's myself at the top, Ms. Sarah Fleischman. She's a dance advisor, coach, and PE teacher. And we would hopefully get all 13 students. I don't think it would be a problem for that. So the criteria for selecting, mostly they should come from our garden advisory and be active participants in it. We're going to ask that all the students have 2 teacher recommendations, a 3.0 GPA average, an interview with us, and an agreement to abide by all the rules. This is a little quick rundown on costs and everything. Probably you just want to skip to the bottom. This is for gas, probably approximately $130. The camping will be around $260. You're going to need a little bit of wood. And what is not included in this list of expenditures is food, and with these campsites you also have to pay for showers, not much. Budget considerations continue. Students will be responsible for funding on their own, but the money, they should earn it. We want them to earn this trip. So we'll be meeting with the students, parents, and give a rundown on that, what we're expecting. This is where it is, not close. But over spring break, we'll have time. So itinerary, pretty much we drive it up there. I have a series of different hikes and reading for them to do to reinforce kind of what we're doing. So history, geology, biology, etc. And they probably will learn how to start a fire as well. And I'm pretty big that they do a good deal of journaling. So, it's not so detailed here. Be happy to answer any questions with more specifics of these. This is just straight from the campsite. This is more for the parents here. It's an extended field trip, so it's kind of a different category, and I need a little bit different approval. But this is just some things that I will need, emergency contact numbers and things like that. Questions?
Thank you. And this is one of the field trips that we are planning. As Mr. Bori said, it is an extended field trip. The main difference between this one and the one that we plan in terms of visiting colleges is that this is not going to be during school hours. So it's for spring break. So the students are on a break, but they choose to come with us to this opportunity that we have. And like I said, we're gonna bring up this item again for a vote. So this is just a preliminary and just informational so that you guys have an idea of what we're doing in order to increase student culture and climate based on their responses in terms of what they wanted, in terms of increased club offerings, which is one of the clubs that we started this year, and their want for more field trips, more I guess, task-based, and also being able to learn different things that they don't learn here in the classroom itself. So this is one of the things that we're planning. But yeah, if you guys have any other questions, we can do it at the end. The last goal for us is increased course offerings and access to technology. So for that one, this year we increased, well, 2 years ago we started increasing our AP, our advanced placement classes. This year we opened up more elective courses. So we opened up a dance class, we opened up French. Instead of just having Spanish, we increased it to Spanish or French. We also have a creative technologies class, which is kind of like a robotics class. There is a robotics component, which is being started up now by Mr. Dillo, our science teacher. And we're looking into increasing the STEM classes because that is where we see the most interest from our students. So that is our LCAP update for John Henry High School. A lot of information, a lot of data, but if you guys have any questions, we're both here to answer.
For me, it's a question and a comment. Comment on the trip there, I like that, getting the students out of their comfort zone, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I like that. And then my question, circling back to staff retention, you mentioned a number of feedback, I guess, you're receiving salary, monetary compensation, of course, career development. Anything to do with any commentary, I guess, from those who are departing regarding, this isn't, for lack of a better term, this isn't for me. I know in my old profession that would come up pretty common after the amount of training and so on and so forth. It's just not for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this year, from last year to this year, we looked at the reason why people left the school, and for the most part, it was in regards to the Bay Area being too expensive. A lot of people moved to Nevada. A lot of people were moving out of California. We do have one of our staff members who decided that this wasn't for her. And Ms. Roberts, she is actually working. I think she's working on passing the bar exam. So she had done law school, and she's working with Catholic Charities of the East Bay. She comes here to provide workshops for parents regarding immigration. So we have a good relationship, a strong bond, even with people who have left, who are still coming back, especially right now with the renewal. I've gotten emails and phone calls from a lot of our previous staff that left last year, and they're like, hey, let me know how I can help you. I want them to know that we did not leave for bad reasons. Like, we actually love the students here. We love your support as a site director, and we want to help in whatever way we can. It was just very expensive. I mean, teaching in general, it's underpaid. So that was one of the biggest reasons. It was moving out of the city.
Good, thank you. I think, I'll be quiet after this, but I think the common theme that pops up maybe in the minds of some, that it's very negative. It's not an amicable departure, if you will. But it's nice to hear that as well, and you continue the ties.
Right.
And I would only give that I think that additional information needs to be, that story needs to be shared, because the perception is that the turnover has to do with poor opportunities for the teachers, and that's not always the case. Because I know in my profession, hiring nurses, they leave because they can't afford to live in the Bay Area, and I can imagine the same thing for teachers.
Right.
Peter, do you have any questions there on the phone?
No, lot of time on John Henry, even just since I've been back on the board, so I don't have a lot of questions. I would just, build on the theme that I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about, and it came out of the public, even across at the public hearing about even the history of John Henry when we were making the point that the parents, that this was really a parent-driven school, but it wasn't a new school in the sense that the parents created it out of nothing. It was John Henry was a replication school coming out of Oakland Charter High School in many cases. It was parents that had come from Richmond and gone to Oakland Charter High School and experienced the AMETHOD system and wanted to bring that to Richmond. And we're kind of founding parents. It was a replication of the AMETHOD system, and I don't think that really was understood well. And also I don't think the county board had maybe dealt with charter management organizations, and so they didn't understand the difference in governance between a single charter school governing board and the governing board of a charter management organization. And so I think there's some things that really need to be just explained, how things, the history and the operations of AMETHOD and the history of John Henry that can be just clarified. Some of the things that go along with the teacher turnover and that sort of thing, and along with the finances speak for themselves. The finances have been very good for the entire history of AMETHOD. So I came away from that public hearing feeling that there was a lot of misunderstanding about charter management organizations and about the history of John Henry and the history of AMETHOD public school that could fairly easily be explained.
Point well taken, Peter. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any more presentations for
Yes.
on this item?
Yes, we have.
Okay.
For each of the sites, we have.
Okay.
And just in case, March 11th is the appeal hearing, so I hope to see you all there. And I'm going to bring Downtown Charter. Downtown Charter is in a unique place. Home office is housed upstairs. So we see Ms. Lee a lot, so here she is.
I know some people think too much, but I am
Never.
the proud site director of Downtown Charter Academy. I will share the presentation with you. Amy, I have a couple. I leave it there. Yes, I'm sorry. You have lots of presentations. I'm going to try to be brief.
Thank you very much.
I leave it like that. It's perfect. At the cover, I put a picture of our students playing violin because I am really proud of our after-school program. During the day, students are taking classes from 8:30 to 3:30 with one period of physical education. So in the afternoon, we offer lots of alternatives for students. We really want to educate well-rounded students, well-rounded people.
Did you make this on a bag?
What?
Did you make this on a bag?
Yes.
Yeah, I have a minute.
Don't knock Max.
So, I know.
Just that they're not compatible.
Two worlds of different opinions, right?
That's
I
right.
don't know if I can play it.
I brought my computer and everything.
Do you have an HDMI?
Yes, I brought everything.
Got a bunch of Mac users out there?
Yeah,
I got one too.
Max rule. I don't even know why they still make PCs.
Yeah, maybe that's okay. Everybody has it.
Yeah, we're okay.
I think we can follow from the plan here.
Unless, Peter, oh, okay.
Mr. Lopez, could you speak up a little bit when you speak?
Sure.
Every presentation takes 2 or 3 laptops.
Sorry about this.
You're gonna have trouble with things. Seems like my computer's.
I am really proud of my school and the results, and I really want to show you the dashboard. Let me see. Let me try a little bit more. You know what I can do? I also have it in a document. But then it's not reading my computer, is that what is happening?
Right, yeah.
Oh. Let's try this. Just one more try. But then I don't have a way to connect it all the way. Okay, now I got it. Can you, will you present this and will you connect this to you? Whatever I can do to help you. They're right there. Yeah, but how can we connect this to you? Do you like this one? I don't know if that fits this. But at least you can look at this. What did you do? Can I present this one here? Yeah. But how can I connect this to this? Yeah, no, it is. Wait, is this the one?
No,
No? No, porque
that's not connected to anything.
Oh, that is. I don't have my. Yeah. Okay, never mind. Pero mira que lo puedes hacer. So I will read it from here, and I guess we are not a big group of people, so I will try to speak. Yeah, that would be awesome if you can do that. Okay, the content of my presentation will be very much like my colleagues have presented to you. And
I like it, improvise.
in the California Department of Education dashboard, we are very proud to share with you that we meet all the standards. And I will speak to you about each one of the indicators.
Hey.
Oh, there.
You
there
can
we
listen
go.
to
Thanks, at least we can see that. Great. So, as you can see, we meet the English language arts, we meet the mathematics, the suspension rate is in green, we meet the basics, teacher, instructions, materials and facilities, implementation of academic standards, and parent and family engagement. We have the chronic absentees is in yellow, and there is a reason for that. They compare our indicator from the previous year indicator, our own. So we are still have a very high rate, attendance rate. It's in the 98%, which is really high. Very, like, schools usually have 94%, and it's good. Ours is 98. However, we had 2 students who had challenges with health, and we had 2 students who had chronic absentees last year, and that's why that is in yellow. The suspension rate went from orange to blue this year. We implemented restorative practices in our school, and it's helping a lot. We have students reflecting on the responsibility of their actions, writing about it, and taking responsibility also for other duties in the school so that they know that their actions also have consequences. But we take it in the approach is very restorative, and we grew 3.1% in that indicator. We actually declined, which is good to decline in this one. Yes. Yes.
There you
Go, yeah,
Go
please
down?
go down. Yes, great, thank you.
And it's not as flashy as it should be, but you can scroll down.
Yes, I can scroll down. Great, thank you. Okay, now for the English language arts, we are 35.7 points above the standard. We declined 12 points. And for the mathematics, we are 34.8 above the standard. We also declined in mathematics. But we're still very good and very strong. There were some changes in teachers last year, and we also decided to change the curriculum because we had advanced math for all students, and not all the students were able to perform at that level. So we made some changes in response to this. That one. With the chronic absentees, I already explained to you why it's on yellow, and I think we're going to be better this year. We continue to invite the parents in when the students are absent. We send letters home. We talk to students, and we have an incentive plan for all students. We do it by classroom. And we give prizes to students, and we make them compete with each other for attendance. And we do that on a weekly basis. Thank you. The suspension rate declined, and so we are actually in blue because we did a good job. One thing that I put there, some of the charts where we collect information and feedback from teachers and parents. And that's how we work in the school culture and from students, to make them think and believe that that is their school, and we all have a responsibility to provide with our ideas and ideas to improve our plans. Parents engagement is something that we do really well. We meet with parents every month. They have a great input into ACES, the Hours After School program. We have made with parents also to update them for ACAP, and we have done it 3 times this year, in August 15, in October 10, and actually today. And we are going to have 2 more meetings about ACAP with parents, one on April 16 and another in May 14. We also have workshops for parents, the picture that you sort of see there is one that we did for internet safety, and the other picture is for Citywide, a partnership that the school has done, and actually our network has with Johns Hopkins University for the talented youth, and they get to go to very interesting programs during the summer, and they have to take a test to classify for that. The way we measure our success are the same: meeting IEP goals, implementation of standards, reclassification of English learners, parent survey results, suspension and expulsion rate, absenteeism and attendance, NWA map growth, which is an interim test that I will share some results with you, and the SBAC scores that you just saw. Those are the state tests. I also wanted to share with you our priorities. We have only 3 priorities in our school. The first one is to support students with unfinished learning, students who actually need us the most. So we put all the resources and all the systems in the school to work for them. Restorative practice, a program for English learners, the after-school program that has tutoring and support for students with homework, and the intervention cycles. The tutoring in the school is really, really strong. I am really proud and happy and grateful that we have tutors that are professionals, that have certification, 30-day learning permits, teaching permits, and that they work with a small group of students all the time. They have their own classrooms. They are not big, but they have little places, and they have all the materials and all the resources to work with our students that need us the most. Our SST program is also very strong. It's a plan that we create with a group of teachers and parents to support the students who also need some extra support. Not the students who have an IEP, but the students who are still performing low in the low levels, so that we make those plans. And that is those plans go into an ongoing basis, and we meet with parents every 3 or 4 weeks. The second priority is the math curriculum. We are piloting a program this year. It's a program called Illustrated Mathematics. And we have provided, the goal for this year is to give a very strong professional development for teachers. That's the biggest goal, because we wanted, to do it by steps. And so far, we have done 2 very good professional developments for teachers on that program. They also collaborate with teachers across the country. And 2 of our teachers, math teachers, are going to a national conference in the spring to share the results of the implementation of this program. The third one is the school culture. We want our students to value their education and directly connect to the work they are doing each day. See education as a pathway to achieve their goals and realize their dreams. They are teenagers, and that's a very difficult age to be. So we want them to feel proud of their education and leave the school thinking, this was a good experience. And we're working on that. For that, I want to share with you, I have a group of students, 8th graders, running the environmental club. And they are doing a beautiful job. They are better speakers than I am, so it's great. What we're doing well, I already told you about the tutoring. We provide professional development every other week for new teachers, and professional development every other week for our tutors. We are also doing really a good job about tracking attendance for students. The ACES program has 18 clubs, and they also have the tutoring support for students in the after-school program. We changed the schedules of the tutors so that they can be available to students after the school hours. Also, our ELD program, the program for English learners, we have a teacher dedicated to that. This teacher has a degree in English, and he's implementing the program designated program and integrated program. Integrated, he's working with the teachers in the classroom, supporting the students, doing what they're doing in the classroom, and we're doing it during the history period because they do a lot of writing and reading in history. And then he also pulls out students in small groups to support them with the English acquisition. I think that's me. What is challenging, and I wanted to bring this up to you because what is rigorous hiring procedure. You mentioned that it's very hard to attract teachers, really. And a credential program is $20,000, and what salary? Teacher salary cannot afford that. So it's a challenge, and I want to share that with you because we need help with that. Teacher retention is not a problem in my school yet, but I can see that it can be. It's a potential challenge. Community partnerships with the politics between district schools and schools of choice. It's very hard to form partnerships with the schools. I am trying really hard. I am going to open the school for a STEM week during the summer. And I already have 2 schools who are interested, but it's such a big effort. So anything that you can do to help us create a community. I believe in competition is good, and I feel that we are a very good school. So I would love to, partner and talk to other schools that belong to the Oakland district. This is the test that I wanted to show you. This is an interim test. So in addition to the test the state test that the students take, this is a test that we take 2 times a year. It's called MAP, and these are the results. This is a national norm test. So the results and the comparisons that happen there are with the students at the national level. This is our students performing, the 6th graders perform really high compared to the rest of the nation. And you can see the first graph, the first blocks are teachers reaching and above the norm, and in the last blocks are teachers above the norm, which is really high, like 22% are really above the norm. The other students below the norm, 5% is like about 3 students who are not there yet, and students who are not reaching the norm are almost there with the norm. The media is 50%. And the blocks are, the blue ones are at the beginning of the year, and the orange ones are the test that we just took in the winter.
Just to clarify,
yes,
so that last graphic, the 26, the red lower box is the move in the right direction.
Mm-hmm. Yes, the 26% is a little lower, however, and that's a very good question. It should actually go up. However, the norm grows, the demands grows as the year goes. So even when they are a little lower, it doesn't mean that they are not making progress. They are still making progress. Yes.
Okay.
And this is our data compared to our own data. This is in reading. So we're performing, many students performing above the norm, and students below the norm are, like a few, 6% is like 5 students in 6th grade. This is 6th grade. I'm sharing you all the grades. So 7th grade math, the same here. You see 66% of the students are performing above the norm, and although you don't see like a big progress there, they are making progress because the demands gets higher as you go during the year. So I guess we go just faster. I don't want to tire anyone, but I just wanted to share with you the results because they are really positive, and I'm really proud of the work that the students are doing and the work that the teachers are doing. This is the English Learners Program. We have the AMS DLAC committee, And we also have the DCA ELAC committee. That is a committee that makes decisions for our English learners and helps put the program together. These are our English learners, the reclassified students, and the English learners at the beginning of the year last year. This is the student distribution by grade. You can see that many students come as English learners in 6th grade, and then it decreases. Also, you can also see at the distribution levels that many students that come in are really at the first two levels, level 1 and level 2. So we have many newcomers in our community. You also have to know that 98% of our students speak other language than English at home. So we have 44 English learners this year. This is the science results. Middle exceeds the standards for science in California. This is the state of California results, 28%. And for DCA was 52% overall, and economically disadvantaged is still above California. And Hispanic is also 41, 66%, and females 44, 19%. We're really proud of the work they're doing. And another fantastic news, Downtown Chartered Academy is one of the schools being recognized this year by Innovate based on our school's strong results for low-income African-American students in English middle school. And I just want to add that I am really proud to present these results. I have a very strong team of teachers and parents and supporting staff. So, if you have any questions?
Just a comment of congratulations. Oh, one question. Yes, you talked about partnerships, community partnerships.
Yes.
And you mentioned schools. Are there other types of community organizations that may not be a school, but may be an appropriate and an effective partner that you would like to consider, or an example of one?
Well, we do have lots of partnerships with the community in Oakland. Mr. Ayani put us in contact with Empower, and they have been great providing us staff for the after-school program. We also have partnered with Berkeley for students who are studying computer science. They come and do the computers club and the coding club. So we do have strong bonds. What I like, and I don't know if I'm not just going away from what we want to do, but I really want to work with the schools, with other schools. For example, I want to recruit students from all the schools in Oakland. And I have reached out to 10 schools, in elementary schools that I want to visit, to bring the students to our school. And they say, no, you cannot come and present your school. So that is the kind of that's why I emphasize that is the kind of partnership that I'm interested in, because I want to recruit students and parents from all over Oakland. And I haven't been able to do so. I do have some schools that are feeders, and all of the students that come to our school apply to enroll Oaks. That is available to everyone. However, it's that kind of partnerships that will bring, I think it will make us more, I don't know, stronger, working together. I think we are all educators, and I think it will make us stronger, and that's the kind. Other organizations, yes, organizations that provide teachers. For example, education departments in the colleges and universities in the area that invite us that all the time to have that contact with teachers and certification programs.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Very helpful.
Ms. Lee, I just want to tell you that, as you just mentioned, you share the offices with our home office. And it's one of the delights leaving my office in the evening and hearing that wonderful vocalization that goes on in the classrooms. It really lifts my heart, and it's really warm, and it's so good to go home from my long commute with that with those thoughts in my mind.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. I'm sorry about the cake thing.
That's all right. I should have noticed earlier and called you out while we were still at work.
I'm going to bring our flagship, Oakland Charter Academy. I say that's the mothership. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't because of Oakland Charter Academy. It does hold a blue ribbon. It's still proudly, on one of our walls. And so I bring Dr. Ellenberg to the podium.
Is this another back attack?
Hey, what's that?
Yeah. You're outnumbered here, pal.
My computer seems to be only one with enough output on the HDMI to hit this long cord into the wall. Right. Oh, okay.
Good evening. I am Phil Ellenberg, serving as Site Director, Oakland Charter Academy. This work began for me November 23rd, so I don't have anything extensive. I don't have many fancy pictures or anything like that, but we are addressing the items that we will see tonight, and so to the best of our ability, we will present. We're now looking at our dashboard. We see your yellow ELA, 38.4 points below standard, which is actually an increase, 3.4 points. Mathematics, we're in orange, 61.3 points below standard, declined 8.1 points. Our absenteeism, orange, 14.8%, increase 1.2%. Our conditions of climate, green, 7.1% suspended at least once, decline 1.3%. So our recent data, we have 265 enrolled, suspension rate 7.1%, chronic absenteeism 14.8%. EL classification, 39.2%. Special ed students, 9.357%. Socioeconomically disadvantaged, 88.3%. Our LCOP goals, we'll hire and retain well-rounded educators that feel supported and have the ability to grow within their fields. And also, we'll use data to drive classroom lessons, to promote growth within students, specifically in the areas of mathematics and ELA. LCAP metrics, meeting IEP goals, implementation of standards, reclassification of English language learners, suspension, exposure rate, attendance, NWEA, MAP growth, and CAF scores. Our actions and services, We want to look at rigorous hiring and recruiting, and some of our colleagues talked about that. Teacher professional development and goals. We've been having at least 3 a month since we started. Attendance tracking and supports. We want to incentivize attendance. Our attendance is an area that we are working on. Parent engagement, our FST meetings. We've been having one a month. Benchmark assessments. We are approaching CASP. We did our NWEA testing, and we're looking at that data to help us move forward towards the CASP. Our student supports, we do have SST. We are working with professional developments in the area of classroom management, and working with our demographically, with our diverse population. Our standards, we're definitely, we want to pay attention to the material. We are aligned to the standards. And this is some of the stuff we're addressing now. Again, November 23rd, we started this, and so I don't have an extensive amount of information to give at this time, but we're working on it. Any questions?
How can the board support you in this upward swing here?
You know, when we look at the area of hiring, if there's anything we can get support on an area of going to or getting information about any promotion, teacher hiring, retention. That's the area we really need support on.
Seems to be a common thread.
Yes.
Sorry, Jeff, but I have a thought on board support. I think we had an email from one of you saying that, you know, we understand, like, to the core teachers at the school, thanking them for their dedication. You're looking at a school that took on 34 7th graders in the middle of the school year from another Oakland school that was closed down, and taking on and a new leader stepping in, and a culture that is continually getting stronger, and kids who are happier to be at school. And just to applaud that staff for that.
Consider that. Thank you.
If I may, I definitely want to talk about a huge win we have. In November, we were averaging about 44 students in our after-school ACES program. And in a matter of less than 3 months, we've doubled that. We're approaching 100 students in our after-school program. And we were able to get a grant for a performance grant. And we started a program for music production. And we started with teaching the students how to write a song, how to record a song. We actually finished recording the song, and we're moving towards recording a video for the song and presenting the video to the school. And with that, we definitely see the pride. We see it building esteem. The students are extremely happy. So that is one huge win that I definitely want you guys to know. You know, and that's just in a matter of a couple of months. So.
I just want to mention that when I first came on board as CEO, had the privilege of visiting Dr. Ellenberg at the school. And when I walked in, Mr. Ellenberg was not in his office. He was sitting at a desk in the hallway to ensure that all the students got to where they were supposed to. And I came out, and I was being shown around, and while Dr. Ellenberg and I were speaking, sort of minor ruckus developed in one of their classrooms, and it was taken care of. I was then taken outside, and this is probably something the board doesn't know, that for a long time, there was a homeless encampment behind the school, which presented danger, which presented a lot of challenges. It is a very challenging school, and Dr. Ellenberg, since he's taken it on, has done a tremendous amount of work in improving it, and you to be applauded for that. I thought of Mr. Cotter from and all the sweat hogs that were in there. So I don't know if that's an apt comparison, but I was very impressed with the way you approach this sort of out of the box style of dealing with the students. So I just want to point that.
Sorry.
Now it works.
Sorry.
So having worked on and off in Oakland, I understand the environment where you're located, and thank you for sharing that upward trend morale. That's what I'm hearing from you. There's a morale issue as well, and it sounds like it's an upward trend. You mentioned 37 students that were transferred to another school. Was that another charter school, or was that supposed to?
It was a charter school, Epic Academy.
Okay, so it wasn't connected to the house, but not that it makes it any better.
Yeah. No, which even makes it a little bit more challenging because they don't.
Different culture.
Yeah, it's a totally different culture.
Wow.
Different rules, totally different.
So obviously, I'm new to the board, but you took over in November. Is that
Yes.
where you were? Okay. Keep it up.
Thank you, sir.
And I also wanted to offer a suggestion. Before going too far and too public with the new song, make sure that there's some protection around, rights that you retain, because there's opportunities for that song to be a revenue-generating source.
Yes.
Okay. And I can talk to you more about that because I have family members in that kind of business.
Well,
not now.
Okay. It's a very, very good song, by the way.
Okay.
I do have a question with regard to the homeless encampment. What happened or what's happening?
Okay. So we partnered with Councilmember Noel Gallo, and he was extremely instrumental in actually helping us lead the charge. And so he took it to the mayor, and it was actually 2 or 3 years that in the making that it was. But I just happened to be in the seat when it went down. So I took the picture. But
timing is everything.
That's good.
But Mr. Gallo, we have to really give him a lot of credit for working really diligently on helping us with that. And it's clear and it has not returned.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, I remember planting trees in East Oakland with Representative Gallo. So he's very active, very proactive.
Very good. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Just one last thing I want to add about Dr.
I have a couple of
I'm sorry.
I guess questions. Is your absentee rate? What's your absentee rate so far this year?
About 14.8%.
So it's about the same as it is in the dashboard.
Correct.
Okay. How do you see that? It's hard to improve when you've got an absentee rate at that level. Do you agree?
I do agree. One thing that we're looking at now is incentivizing attendance, and one of our colleagues spoke about competitions, and so what we're working on now is a plan to have grade level competitions to increase attendance.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when I went into the CAPS data and looked at kind of the performance of the class, the 8th grade class of 18-19 over the last 3 years, I mean, it was really concerning. I mean, I've been around OCA for a long time, going back 12, 13 years or so, and those are numbers that I'm not used to from OCA, because you know, we really didn't make progress with that class. And that's really concerning to me, because that school has a long history of just, you know, really turning around kids from you know, difficult backgrounds and really, you know, getting very high performance out of them, and we didn't do that for very many of those kids. And they graduated in that 8th grade class. So this is, you know, it's really concerning to me that we get this back on track.
Yes, sir.
And you know, the local climate, you know, the local climate survey summary is you know, a concern when it has, you know, it raises questions about parent-teacher trust and principal-teacher trust. You know, those are, and you combine that with high absentee rate, and man, you got a real mountain to climb there.
Well, if I can speak to it a bit, one of the things that we're bringing is consistency. This is only a couple of months for me in this seat, but this is my 2nd year at the school, and my plan is to be here as long as I'm alive. I don't know how long. And so, with that being said, the students have been failed by people not able to stick in this position. If administration is not consistent, and if the teachers are turning over, how can we move data? One of the things I want to do is stabilize the staff. And so, with that being said, we can move the data by working on rigor. It's not a secret that if you have inconsistency with teachers, classroom management becomes what we're working on, opposed to actually having challenging, rigorous instruction. And so, if you come to the school, you'll see that classroom management is one of the things that we've been working on. And even with the instability in teachers, we are actually doing better than any school could possibly be doing under the circumstances. And so, with that being dealt with, we will definitely be able to move the data. I can pretty much. I'm not a betting man, but if I were a betting man, I would bet money that we can move data if I can get help with retention and with getting qualified, good teachers in those seats. And it starts with me being able to stick. If I can stick, we can do the work. We can't have 2 and 3, 4, 5. We have to be consistent in the work. One of the reasons why I'm here, I'm a son of Oakland. I went to high school across the street from the very school that I work at right now. I went to Frick Junior High School in the 80s, and I'm an Oakland guy, and I'm invested in Oakland. I love Oakland. These children are my children, and they will win.
Okay. Yeah, and I encourage everyone when they're bringing data to the board like this, bring us gross data. I mean, bring us snapshot data is fine, but bring us the gross data, because that's what really tells the story and sets the context.
Duly noted.
What's happening in the school. That's what I really look at is what did we do, what did we do over time with these kids, and how did we move them or not move them in their learning. So that's what I really want to see in a data presentation like this is how much growth that we've generated. And it's really difficult in high school right now. That's why I ask for things like PSAT data and any other kind of data that shows growth, because the CAS data is almost useless in looking at high school performance. So we need to generate some other kind of data that sets a good context for how much learning is going on and how are we moving kids forward.
I think think that's a great point, Ms. Villa. I believe in growth of cohort data, you know, how kids grow. And my kids went through the system. My son graduated from John Henry. So,
and I think that's, you know, I really encourage the administration to bring us that kind of data as much as possible when they're doing these kinds of reviews, because that really shows, you know, what's happening in the school and what's happening for the kids in the school.
I think what we get caught up with, Mr. Hanley, is that we're being held accountable as renewal process and LCAP, and it seems like at some point in time, the West, you know, not West Contra Costa, but like just like West Contra USD or a county at this point will see that as something that's of importance because they'll just go off a dashboard, and that's what the state is pushing. I worry about us internally and as administration. You know, I ran for the 6 schools, and I was huge on growth over time. However, with renewals getting so much stringier, you know, with AB 1505 coming, we're going to be judged by an LCAP. And so I oftentimes tell the leaders, you know, it's unfortunate that we can't celebrate the great things that we're doing because we have moved kids from a 30th percentile to a 60th percentile, but an overall, you know, it might not be captured on a dashboard. So that's my only thing against the dashboard that I have as a parent myself, that I won't be able to see if my 9th grader, or actually not my 10th grader, is she going to meet standard for college. She's taking a PSAT. And so I think there's confusion. I could go on about what I think about the LCAP and the dashboard. I think data over time is what matters. I mean, even testing students in 9th grade for writing and for college readiness is huge for us. We do internal data. It's just that I think the leaders right now are a bit apprehensive with how we're being judged with spring site visits from the district, the local authorizers. So we know we have growth. It just doesn't maybe show on LCAP, on dashboards, I mean. And so one thing about Dr. Ellenberg and I, OCA, yeah, we had 90% attendance rate. And so one thing that I know that Dr. Ellenberg brings to the table is an inspiring leader. And I believe that inspiring leaders are the ones that move data faster because kids want to come to school. And so when he says I'm from Oakland, and we're all invested in the communities, and I think this is sometimes really hard for us to celebrate ourselves. So I just want to say to the public that's watching that the leaders right now, you know, our motto is honor hard work, and I know it's like, oh yeah, it sounds cheesy to say it, but our leaders are here right now, 8:20, they're going to wake up tomorrow morning and be at school tomorrow, serving the students that we're supposed to serve. And yeah, I commend Dr. Elmer for being here and showing his data and saying, I'm going to just work hard, and I think, you know, we're all invested in that. And I think we're on this game because we believe in children. It's unfortunate that we have to battle so many things at a day-to-day, but I believe in growth over time. We'll bring in WE data because I think that's what we could bring to all of you so you guys can see the growth over time, especially the kids that are coming from Benito that are growing within the system, especially in the K-12 system that we have here in Richmond.
Thank you very much. Any other questions, Peter?
No,
Thank you. Okay, who else do we have?
We have RCA and Benito Juarez
Okay.
together combined. Ms. Avery.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Ms. Averly.
Yes.
I am currently the site director for both Richmond Chartered Academy and Benito Juarez. I was originally at Oakland Charter High School. I've been with the organization for about 7 years. I was a teacher there, and then I was a dean of instruction. And it's really awesome to hear that those college field trips are going so well. I was involved in a little bit of the planning in the summer for August when I transferred over here to Richmond to make sure that Benito and Richmond Charter were taken care of. And it's been an awesome learning experience being the site director for 2 schools and being my first year as a site director. Being a site director is like being a black cat in a dark room, but I think that we've been doing pretty well. We have a lot of room to grow, which you'll see in the presentation, and we're also doing some really fun things and good things for the students. This is the dashboard for Richmond Charter Academy. Just to give you a little bit of overview, there's a lot of oranges and yellows, which you know, we all like to see the greens and the blues definitely. So we're going to go through each of these ones as we go through the presentation. Here we have the academic performance for math and for ELA. You know, even though that it is in the yellow, we do have an increase for both. 14.8 points for ELA and then 4.4 points for math. As for English learner progress, 55.2% of our students are making, you know, are making growth in their English language proficiency. So you can see from the indicator down below that that's a high growth rate for our English language learners. As far as academic engagement, our chronic absenteeism, and you'll see in our updated data from this year, that is actually a little bit higher than 8.1 for the chronic absenteeism. And I'll talk a little bit about how we're tackling that issue in a moment. And also, we have an increase in our suspension rates right now. To tell you the absolute truth, I mean, there's a lot of, we've had to do a lot of urgency work with the students, you know, preventing them from being lackadaisical or apathetic about their work as students. So, you know, there's been a lot of work around that at RCA. And so we've been having a big push with, you know, having some integrity and pride in being a student and making sure that they try their best every single day. The recent data for RCA were about, you know, it probably had changed since I did this little sheet here, but we have about 262 students. Our suspension rate right now is at a 2.7. Chronic absenteeism, I'm sorry, sometimes I get my schools mixed up. 11% is BJE. We're at 5.7 at RCA. Reclassification is about 4% at this moment. About 6.1% of our students at RCA are classified as SPED, and 81% of us are social non-food disadvantaged. So like with the other middle schools, we also take the NWEA math test. This is the, you know, projection of students, you know, doing well and passing the ELA exam. So right now we want the students to be again in the green and the blue. You can see we're about hovering like, you know, 33%, 34%. A lot of our students are in the level 1 and level 2. And I will get into our big master plan for that, and we'll go and look at math here in a moment here. So math, we have a lot of students in level 1. Along with DCA, we're also doing the new math program. It's called Learn Zillion, and I think that is, whenever you start a new curriculum at a school, there's always going to be some down with data. So I think that's part of the reason why we're here with math. I also think that some of the reason here for math too is that the 7th grade class at RCA last year did not have a math teacher. This year, we've only had a math teacher for about 4 months. So that's a big indication of why teachers are so important for our students and for our schools, and why we have to work on our recruitment policies, I think, and having maybe some more robust ways of getting talent to come here to Richmond and to Oakland as well. But for both ELA and math, we just started about 2 weeks ago. We started some like small quizzes or tests that we put on Illuminate Ed. The students take the tests. They're aligned to the kind of questions that they'll have on the CAST. So the students take it on the computer. The data goes straight to Illuminate Ed, which is our grading and SIS system. And the teachers are able to have the data practically in real time so that we can do an analysis of the data together with the teachers. My Dean of Instruction at RCA, he just started in December. It's kind of his big project that he's doing right now with the teachers. We changed our schedule a little bit at RCA to accommodate teachers having the same prep. So we worked together with the teachers for about, I'll say like 75 minutes, looking at data that the students had just, they just took that test that morning, and then we look at the data, see where the students are struggling, and then create reteaching lessons together as a group, and then the teachers execute those reteaching lessons that we put together, and then also reinforce some of the holes that they have in their both math and ELA instruction. So that's been going pretty well. It was kind of our first push this week, changing the schedule, having students go to PE together as a grade level, and then having the teachers having time to work together as a group to figure out how to get these students to level 3 and level 4. So for the LCAP goals, these are just very broad and umbrella-like ideas that we're going to be working on at RCA and BJE both, but basically we want to make sure that the students are ready for the next step in their education. So in the case of our students at RCA, making sure that they're ready for the next grade, and or for John Henry, and making sure they have the skills that they need to be successful in high school. We also want to make sure that the culture at RCA is getting better and better and matching our mission and vision every day. And I'll get into a little bit of us using the kickboard system when we get into our metrics. So our metrics for our LCAP will be, of course, meeting IEP goals, implementation of standards, reclassification of our EL learners, parent survey results that we got from Youth Truth that we started back in, I think it was October. I think we're supposed to do it again in April. We also have, keeping those suspension expulsion rates down so that students are in school and in class and not at home and not in class. Chronic absenteeism, like DCA, we're also doing weekly, actually mine is monthly, free dress for the grade level who has the best attendance rate. Free dress, it's like the golden ticket. So if you offer that to the students, they will run 300 miles. So we've been doing a lot of that and a lot of data analysis with the math testing. And then of course the CAS scores that do need to increase at RCA. As far as, the actions and services with LCAP, making sure that we are able to hire highly qualified teachers is extremely important. Making sure that we keep our facilities well maintained and safe so that students feel comfortable is something else that we make sure we do every day. We also want to make sure that we are using the assessments we give the students as a tool to push instruction and to even personalize some of the instruction that we're giving to the students. The great thing about having students taking a short test or a short quiz on Illuminate is that it's directly tied to the student. So you just look up the student and you can see which questions, which standards they are struggling in and which ones they're doing well in. We're also using Kickboard, which is where the software that they use at the high schools, and we're able to use that to help students feel motivated to participate in class, to make sure their uniform is correct every day, to make sure they get their homework in. We give them positive points, and so it's like a bank account. So they get money, and then every 2 weeks they get to go to the Kickboard store where they get to buy stickers and chips and all that fun stuff, cool pencils and erasers, special RCA gear like t-shirts and things like that. And so if they have enough money, they can buy even a free dress redress day passed and the homework passed and all that great stuff. So they really want to rack up those points. They also get points deducted if they get in trouble or they don't turn in their homework or anything like that. Questions about RCA before I get into BJD?
Could I just clarify a point? When Ms. Villa was talking about the LCAP, aren't your LCAPs, don't they call for data over a 3-year period? I mean, my LCAP in my high school district, we've got data for over a 3-year period in our LCAP. Aren't your LCAPs? I haven't looked at your LCAPs since I've come back on the board.
Yes, it
aren't
says
your LCAP structured so that the data is in there over a 3-year period?
correct. Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
And
So
for
you can show gross data in your LCAP, right?
yes, we can definitely show growth data on the LCAP, and we're just showing the snapshot of what our school looks like today.
Okay.
Oh yeah, in April
Okay,
we'll be able to show you the growth
I just
part.
wanted to clarify that. Okay. Okay.
Thank you. And BJD. Okay. So our students just, Mr. Ellenberg was talking, or Dr. Ellenberg was talking about students writing songs. I should have put it on here. I didn't even think about it. The BJD kids rewrote a song, and they've been singing it every Friday. It's hilarious. So anyway, BJE for this school year. This is kind of the overview of our dashboard. As far as academic performance, there has been a decline both around 7 points for both English and for math. As far as in English, like I said prior, whenever you adopt a new curriculum, there is going to be some kind of drop, with teachers getting used to the curriculum and the new expectations for the students. For English Language Arts, for the K through 2nd grade, we adopted Open Court, and for 3rd through 5th, we adopted Benchmark, and that happened last school year. Open Court is really focused on, structured literacy, making sure that kids are having a lot of direct instruction around phonemic awareness and building those important blocks for them to be able to read, because that's probably one of the most important things to get them ready for the next step, is that they know how to read and are able to navigate all the different kinds of texts they're going to have to read when they get into middle school and high school, whether it's fiction or science or math or anything like that. So that's a big push in K through 2nd grade, is making sure that students have adequate vocabulary, that they work on their fluency, and that they also are starting to gain more confidence with text comprehension. Grades 3 through 5, where they do test for the CAS, the benchmark. The benchmark curriculum, I've been an English teacher for a really long time, and I really think the benchmark curriculum does a really awesome job, from my perspective, of teaching students how to read, and teaching students how to read in a way that is holistic and very much aligned to the Common Core standards of ELA. It really focuses on the idea of cyclically through the skills needed for students to be able to look at a piece of text and really understand every aspect of it, from main ideas and key details to author's purpose, and looking at the craft of the writing as well. So as we get more into benchmark, getting used to it more with the teachers and with the students, I can see a lot of great things happening with that particular curriculum.
So could I just ask, when was it you said you adopted Open Court?
Open Court, I think it was before I came last year. So this is our 2nd year of using both of the curriculum.
Okay. Because it seems like we're still struggling to standards in 3rd grade to getting them better by 5th grade, but we still have quite a large number that are in 5th grade that are not meeting the standards. And so I don't know what's your feeling about that. That I realize the standards get higher. They're higher in 5th grade than they are in 3rd grade, obviously.
Right.
But we still have a fairly large number that are by 5th grade are still not meeting the standards.
Yeah, I see the same issue. And I do think that from my knowledge of the history of BJE, the previous curriculum was not as aligned to Common Core as it should be, like Benchmark is. So with the adoption of this one and it catching up to the 5th grade students being taught with Benchmark, the idea is that that gap with students not meeting standard will decline with a better curriculum. Of course, curriculum is not going to solve all the issues. There's a lot of different things that come into the mix, such as teacher retention and things like that. But yeah, I agree with you that this is something that is an issue for BJE.
Yeah, I mean, you see what I mean. I know you get the point. I mean, if we got almost 40% of our 5th graders that if you take them and you say that you're sending them on to RCA, and you got 40% of your 6th grade class coming in below standard, man, that's a problem. So, we just got to figure out how to do better on that, obviously.
Yes, I totally agree with you on that point for sure. As for the English language learner progress, we are at 51.9% at EL for the EL growth in proficiency. As for academic engagement, we're at, according to the dashboard, we're at 8.5 for chronic absenteeism. Is a decline by almost 2%. Suspension rate, we have declined almost 1%. We have around 2% suspended at least once. Enrollment at BJE is 481. Suspension rate right now is at 0.2. This is where the chronic absenteeism has been an issue, is 11%. EL reclassification is 6.5 at this moment, and then also 8% SPED students and 80% socioeconomically disadvantaged. This is similar to the math scores I showed you with RCA for grades 3, 4, and 5. You can see here that for ELA, we have almost 70% of students right now at the 1 and 2 level. We are also starting a CAS test prep with the teachers on Friday. We're going to be looking at the practice exams, cutting them up a little bit so students can have exposure to those tests the chunks at a time until we're ready to take it in May. And like OCHS, with how we are administering the test to the students, we're going to give the test in chunks so that students don't feel so overwhelmed with the amount of testing they have to do. Again, with math, we are currently, according to the NWA test, looks like about almost 70% with levels 1 and 2. And only about 24% with levels 3 and 4. Similar to our goals at RCA, we want to make sure that students are ready for the next step, and that we are making sure that BJE is creates a happy academic school culture that fully engages, our parents and achieves our vision and mission. As far as anything that's different from RCA, we don't have kickboard at BJE, although that would be a great thing to have at BJE to help us with the referrals. We do have a referral system that we use to help students, reflect on their behavior and things like that. We also have Bainula at BJE, where we use an incentive with the students. So students individually and as a class can win prizes for positive behavior, for walking through the hallways in a respectful way. Also, cleaning up after themselves with lunch, wearing their proper uniform. They can earn anything from a pajama party to a donut party to a free homework class for the night. I think the biggest thing with BJE at this moment, in terms of some of the actions that we have to take in order to make our LCAP goals a reality and achieving them, is the hiring process and having well-qualified teachers in every single one of our classrooms. That's probably, I think, the biggest challenge that we have right now in terms of making our LCAP goals a reality. And any questions that you may have about BJE?
How can the board be of continued support?
I don't think that running two schools and running most of the school year with one dean for both schools, I don't think we would have been able to do it without the support of both home office, my other leaders, and the board as well. So that's been very helpful. And similar to what Dr. Ellenberg was saying about teacher hiring and recruitment and retention, that's probably not the only thing, because there's a lot of things that go into a student's education and what makes a school successful, but it's like a linchpin. You can have a lot of the other stuff, but if you don't have a great teacher for the students, it makes it really difficult. I'm at the point right now, I'm teaching 3rd grade right now, ELA, which has been really fun, actually. So being a high school teacher my whole life of English, and then going to 3rd grade has been a wonderful experience, and I really enjoy teaching the students and running the school.
Are there any questions from the board? Not hearing any? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
And I just wanted to note that during the presentations, I did receive a comment request on this item, and because I received it during it, we're going to hear it after. But for the other public comments, we are asking to hear from the public before the subject matter here. So, Ms. Mariela Cuellar, you were going to speak on this item 6.1.
Y yo eso lo puse con tiempo acá, si se lo dieron tarde, no sé.
Ok, está bien.
Okay. Otra vez, mi nombre es Mariela Cuellar, soy mamá de Benito Juarez.
Once again, I'm Mariela Cuellar, and I'm a mother of children at Benito Juarez.
Para mí es muy importante el LCAP, que es el Local Control Accountability Plan, que viene de los fondos federales de LCFF.
For me, the LCAP is very important, and the LCAP is the Local Control and Accountability Plan, and that comes from federal funding of the LCFF.
Creo que venimos en círculos porque yo he estado aquí desde el primer año que mis hijas vinieron, que fue en primer grado, y nosotros no tenemos un School Site Council, no tenemos un ELAC, donde vienen los fondos federales del LCAP y los fondos estatales y federales, y los federales donde son los títulos, especialmente los aprendices de inglés.
I think we're running in circles here because I've been coming here since my children since the first year I was here, and that was when my children were in first grade. And we still don't have a school site council, we still don't have an ELAC, and the LCAP, and the LCAP comes from the federal funds, and the state and federal funds, that funds program, especially for English learners.
Sabemos que los estudiantes de altas necesidades tienen extra dinero. Entonces, para mí es importante que seamos consistentes en el LCAP y que trabajemos juntos.
And we know that the children with greater needs, there is additional funding received for those children. And for me, it's very important that we're consistent and that we work together in the LCAP.
Viniendo a las clases ayer y hoy que fui a observar, obviamente que sabemos que cuando tenemos maestros de alta calidad y que son acreditados con credenciales, obviamente nuestros hijos van a tener mejor educación de calidad.
After seeing the class yesterday that I observed, well, obviously when we have teachers that are highly qualified and credentials, obviously we'll have a higher level of education and a quality education.
Yo le agradezco mucho a los maestros que están con mis hijas hoy, la señora Mesha, que es una sustituta, al señor Paul, que le gusta que le digan Mr. Tiger, pero tenemos que ser realistas y saber cuáles son nuestras habilidades y cuáles habilidades tenemos que mejorar, tanto académicamente, socialmente y emocionalmente, porque mucho está pasando en las clases.
I would like to thank the teachers that are with my children, Ms. Mesha, who's a substitute teacher, and Mr. Paul, and he likes to be called Mr. Tiger. But we have to be realistic about what are our strengths and where do we need to improve.
El CAP, bueno, gracias.
Thank you.
So we're ready now to move to item 6.2, the budget update approval. And we're going to go ahead and have, again, Ms. Maria La Cuellar to speak on the subject matter 6.2 for public comments.
Pero yo no voy a hablar de una presentación que no ha pasado. ¿De qué voy a hablar?
Well, we have the prerogative to either, like we have public comments either before or after. And I'm choosing to have the public comment before the item because you presented a request to speak on the item.
Yeah,
But I have the choice as the board chair to either have you speak before or after, and I'm asking that you make your public comment regarding the budget item 6.2 now.
Okay. Como siempre, ¿verdad? Las posiciones de poder ejercen su poder.
Just like always, the positions of power exercise their power.
Y gracias por dejarme hablar, se lo agradezco mucho. Cuando hablamos de presupuesto, mucho viene a mi mente. Tenemos el LCAP.
And thank you for letting me speak. I appreciate it very much. When we speak about budget, a lot comes to mind. Well, for example, the LCAP.
Sabemos que las 6 escuelas tienen millones, lo cual me gustaría ver mejoras en las clases de mis hijas.
We know that the 6 schools have millions, and therefore I would like to see improvements in my daughter's classes.
Por ejemplo, en una de las clases de mis hijas, las mochilas están en el suelo.
For example, in one of my daughter's classrooms, the backpacks are on the floor.
¿Qué podemos hacer para que las mochilas de los niños estén en unos cubículos o estén en unos ganchos?
What can we do so that the children's backpacks are in cubbies or on hooks?
Otra de las cosas que noté y me gustaría que mejoraran fuera que tengan mejores materiales. Estaban escribiendo en unas pizarritas blancas plumones que no tenían tinta, algunos, unos borradores que no son borradores. Entonces, ¿qué estamos haciendo con el dinero si sabemos que tiene que ser para educación, para socioemocional, materiales y lo que los niños requieran?
Another thing that I noticed that needs improvement are the materials. The children were writing on little white chalkboards with whiteboards, and they were using pens. Some of them didn't even have ink in them. They were using markers, and some of the markers didn't have ink in them, and erasers that weren't even erasers. So what can we do with the money? The money that's supposed to be destined for education purposes, socio and emotional purposes, and what's required for the kids.
Cuando hablamos de presupuesto, dinero que viene de nuestros taxes, porque estamos pagando taxes, tengamos papeles o seamos inmigrantes. Todos californianos pagamos taxes.
And when we talk about the budget, we talk about what we're doing with the money that we pay in taxes, because we're all paying taxes, whether we are documented or those of us that are immigrants. Everyone who's a Californian living in California pays taxes.
El presupuesto de Benito Juárez, a mí me gustaría saber cuánto dinero tiene Benito Juárez. Tuvimos una reunión en el FST, una reunión especial para hablar sobre los títulos 1, 2, 3 y 4. Ahí vi algún dinero, pero a mí me gustaría saber cuánto dinero en general tiene Benito Juárez, tanto dinero base, suplemental y concentración. Gracias. FST. Es un comité, Family Staff.
When we discuss the budget of Benito Juárez, I would like to know how much money we are discussing. When I was at the meeting, the FST meeting, we talked about some titles 1, 2, 3, and 4, and so I saw part of the money, but I would like to know how much money in general is there, the base funding, the supplemental funding, and any additional funding.
Thank you. So can we have staff present on subject item 6.2?
Which one is it? This one?
So I will start as a reminder. My name is Kelly Ellis. I work for EdTech, and I'm the help AMPS with their financial support. And let's see. Yes, I also have Aiden here with me today, where I think right here, who does a lot of the behind-the-scenes work. So this is his first meeting that he's attending. Tonight we are going to be talking through what we call our January forecast update. So this is all of the information through January of this year. We're going to go through an average daily attendance update, the annual forecast, looking at the cash flow, the balance sheet, and then we'll be going to the second interim reports. And so those are the financials that were provided in the materials. And then we will be looking at opportunities, uncertainties, and then our first peek at what next year is going to look like. So this is our, I'm sorry for those that don't know, it's average daily attendance. So it's basically what is each school's enrollment, and then based on their attendance percentage, that combined is called the average daily attendance, which we always like to talk about in fundraising or in finance, because it is the main driver of how each school gets their money. At this point, I'm not going to read through all these numbers, but I'm going to just kind of share how we do our forecasting. Is that the top part is through December, so that's the actuals of the last month's information that we had, which was December. And then below is something we call our P1, so that's period 1. Attendance is really, or that money is only based on the first 8 months of school. And so we now have P1 information, which is...
Excuse me, when I pull up budget update, this folder is absolutely empty in the Dropbox.
I don't.
There's, Peter, look in the February, the folder titled with the date, and the year is all the way spelled out 2020, not the one that's just 20. It's definitely in there.
Which one do I need to pull up?
So in the Dropbox, there are 2 folders with the meeting date. One has the year fully spelled out, all 4 digits. That's the one that you want. All those folders are populated with the materials.
I haven't been able to even get
Peter, are you having any luck?
No.
All right.
Peter, what we're going to do is try to email it to you now.
Yeah, we'll just email it to you real quick.
Okay.
All right, Peter, we're going to email it to you so you can follow along.
Just the presentation?
Yeah. Well, we have it here. This is second interim report approval on file.
Yeah, it's showing
Well,
up.
he was able to find. I can't get into it. Word meeting, right there. All right, budget updates. You know, I think we may have to reset. Peter, refresh your computer, because earlier this meeting I couldn't get to this point, and I know EJ went out to refresh it, make sure it was up
I
there.
just sent it in your straight to Peter's email too.
That's okay.
I should reboot them every time.
Yeah, well, because I didn't get it early, I couldn't get it up. Okay.
I'll continue, and then if you don't see it in a minute, let me know. We'll try to figure it out. So just to say, so basically what I want to do here is that there's actual attendance so far, and period 1 is kind of that like big point in the year, and then there's our forecast. And our forecast is always based on what has been happening the last few months, what is the trend, and then what do we see happening in the next few months. And so you can see that our forecast, the difference there is between, the P1 and the forecast. And so some of the sites like OCA, our forecast is a lot higher than what we've seen, but we just talked about the reason is that you've gained a lot of students from a different school, and so we're going to see that impact or that effect later on. So we're always trying to predict based on P1. Oh, it's been a long night already. Overall, if we looked at just all the sites, we're pretty on trend with P1 and what those results are. It's just different amongst each site. Okay, so moving on. The next slide just shows you this in a little bit of a different way, so you can see what each site is and if we're expecting to sort of the enrollment trend to go up for the next few months or to go down over the next couple of months. Okay, and so this is the slide that I think most of the board at least has seen. And so basically what we like to share is that even though we're looking at this on a monthly basis, the way I'm going to present it is the last time we presented to the board itself and the last time you've seen the information. And so this will include, this is the negative $350,000 is our projections back in the December board meeting, and that was financials through October. So right now we're included changes from the November numbers, the December numbers, and the January numbers combined. So there's a lot of information, a lot of changes that have happened. I'm just going to highlight the key ones and share to you what's happened. The good news is that overall we had a loss last time about negative $350,000 across all the sites. We're now looking at a positive operating income for the year of $150,000. Yes, which is a great thing that and we're moving in the right direction. But I want to flag there are still kind of a lot of things that could go up or down that could affect this. But overall, this is a really great place to see us moving. So in general, what is that because of? It's due to a lot of savings in the 4,000s and 5,000 series. And when we talk about that, we mean some, I don't want to say, but kind of savings we found in like books and supplies. And so where we've already spent a lot of that for this year, and now it's kind of the time where we're checking in and saying like, do all the sites have what we need? If we still have a budget left, can we find some savings there? And we've now made those updates. And then in services and operating, which is what we call our 5,000 series, that's where we've, one is just an adjustment for interest. And so we had at this point thought that we would have a loan, so we were kind of saving a budget for that, and we don't need all of that funds, and so we made some decreases there. In addition, we have a lot more updated numbers on special ed and our contracts and futures, the support that you're going to need for each of your students, and so we were able to see some savings there. The other kind of big ones that I wanted to make sure we touched on is just where we're seeing some things that are, even though we're all those great savings in the 4,000s and 5,000s, unfortunately we've had some hits on the revenue side. And so that's why we can't see as great as increase in the operating income. And so the biggest ones are, to be more conservative, we have about $127,000 we took out for Measure G funds. It's not to say that we aren't necessarily going to get those funds, but the expenses weren't necessarily in the budget for those. So if we are to receive those funds, then we will reassess, and we will probably have to add in where those are going to be stipends for teachers and other great things to help teachers. But the expenses are going to offset that increase. And then the other kind of big piece was LCFF. And so when we talked about average daily attendance, we did see a decrease from our forecast from the previous meeting of what we were expecting. And so that was a loss of about $155,000 overall. And then a big kind of hit was other state revenues. And so we get facilities funding for each of our sites. Unfortunately, that funding is becoming less and less every year. And so they used to reimburse us for all of our extra invoices that we submitted for utilities, for your common area maintenance fees, a lot of those things. You would get up to like 90% back a couple of years ago. Last year, they decided that they only had enough money to give about 47% back. That's sort of how we came into this year, hoping that they would give the same amount back. Now it's looking like they're going to give us at most 10-15% back. So I think right now we just went ahead and just assumed they're probably not going to give us any of the money back to stay conservative, and we'll hope for a little bit better. In addition, that's also a forecast we had to write off. A write-off just basically means we were expecting a little bit more from last year, and so we had accounted for it. We're not going to get that money this year, and so we had to write it off, which affects us negatively this year because we've already accounted for it. And that gets us to the $157K. Feel free to stop me with questions along the way. Cash flow wise, we are looking better. So for those of you that were here the first, every month I was talking a lot about cash flow, and it was really, really crunch time. You can see we ended some months almost at $0 in the bank account, which is pretty scary. It wasn't $0. We were always watching it to make sure we can cover things, but right now it's a lot of the way to how the state pays us, and so we get a lot of money in the second half of the year. But that's why it's really, really important that we build reserves, and so that we're not in this position in years to come, because it's a very stressful position, and we need that cash flow for unexpected events that come up, because they do. And so we do look better. I wanted to still kind of monitor that 1 month of expenses is about $2.7 million. And so even at the very end of the year, that's a lot of money, or it sounds like a lot of money, but that's only covering 30 days of what it takes to operate all of your sites. We'd like to look at schools to have more like 100 days of cash on hand, would be in a great position. And so we still have some work to do, but we're moving in the right direction. In February, the only small thing is we're expecting about $1 million in those facilities fundings I was just talking about. That's what's making February, we're still in February. February look okay, but if that gets pushed back, then that's why those changes, and we might see February look a little bit lower. It would actually come in March, and so that's when you'll start to see it creep up. That's kind of all. Just I mentioned these in previous board meetings, but I'm still kind of calling out that we have some funds we need to pay back for some other projects that didn't happen, and then we're still kind of doing a review of last year. This is new, it's a little overwhelming, but I just kind of wanted to give us the overall big picture here, and then we'll probably start to dive at each individual meeting into kind of more specifics, but just to not forget, we always include the balance sheet, but we don't talk about it a lot. This talks about the overall health of the organization, and so you can basically see on the left-hand side is June, and so that's how we ended June of last year, and then January of this year is how we ended January of this year. And the reason I kind of wanted to flag it for this point is just to talk about, it talks about our cash balance, but then it also talks about accounts receivable. And so we're still expecting close, $936,000 is what we have on the balance sheet of things that we're still expecting from prior years. And just like I talked to you in the other slides, is that if some of those things we decide we're not going to be able to get or collect for various reasons, so that that will actually hit our financials this year. And so that's kind of where we're in the process of now is looking at. And I don't want it to be a total shock if that actually hurts our financials for the current year. But we'll get that into a better place. And then, and just to talk a little bit about, just to remind everyone about, I think it's important for the board to know that we have long-term loans. So we still have about $5.7 million in loans that we want to pay off, or that we are paying off, and we are paying those every month, as we should be. And so those are for all the different facility projects that have happened, and that we have about, that's kind of all I wanted to share about on this slide, but just to kind of introduce you to that, and then we're going to probably just, like I said, talk about each piece each time. Tonight, so we have the second interim financials. Just as a reminder, interim financials are really just like a progress report of how the school's doing and that we're required to submit to the authorizer. And so we do it for the Oakland sites and we do it for the West Contra Costa sites. It happens twice a year. So we've already got the board to approve, and we submitted them through October and December. Now we're going to submit them in March, and they are financials through January, the end of January, and then it's our forecast through the end of the year. And so that information was all part of the packet. It's the same numbers in the same presentation that we submit every month. And this is how each of the sites are looking. And so overall, there's just a small loss for OCA and John Henry. We're still very much in the reserves that we need to. It's just that with some of those write-offs from the previous years, they're one-time things for John Henry, and so it's not something that we see as like a sustainability problem or something that we're going to see over years. It's just making it a small loss for this year, and then OCA as well. I want to flag some opportunities and uncertainties. So facilities, that's obviously one of kind of the biggest issues, is that we still have 1402 upstairs. Yeah, 1450? Oh, I'll never get it right. That way. Took me forever to find here. So 1450, there's an upstairs project, and that's kind of one of those biggest things that could affect the financials, and that we're trying to get in a good spot for, and so that we can make sure that we can get that to grow out the space for everyone. And then staffing, I know we heard a lot about that tonight, but all of those, when we're talking about turnover, when we're talking about raises, when we're talking about all of that, it's obviously affecting the financials. And so every time we get that information from David and everyone else on the staff, we're inputting it as fast as we can. But that will shift things as we hear new information, and we do still have some open positions. And then accounts receivable, that was the same thing. I just wanted to talk about the balance sheet and having to do some work there. And then enrollment projections and attendance rate, I always like to flag that as something that could change because that's the biggest impact. Okay. Any questions about current year? Okay. Budget is never as exciting as school presentations, but I'll take it.
Peter, do you have any questions, and were you able to follow the presentation?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, number one, we really need to do this before 9 o'clock at night.
I agree.
You know, we need to do this before 3 hours into the meeting. And number two, we need some kind of, we need these materials in the Dropbox well before the meeting. I mean, the only thing that I found in the Dropbox before the meeting was the numbers, the raw numbers, which for me are not that helpful. You know, I need a narrative that goes with numbers, explaining what these numbers, you know, giving some context, particularly since I just came back on the board, you know, 6 weeks ago. You know, I can go through the numbers, but when I got, you know, 8 pages of just raw numbers here, that's not that helpful to me. I need a narrative that puts some context in with what those numbers mean. So, you know, if you're going to do a budget update, you know, I need something well in advance of the meeting that tells me what, you know, what the financial situation of the organization is and the direction and, you know, the narrative that's going to be presented to allow me to digest it and ask some questions, and maybe some questions even before the board meeting of the staff. And then we need to do it before 9 o'clock, before I sat here for 3 hours digesting other stuff, and I'm half brain dead.
Duly noted.
That's my comment.
Well, Peter, you know, you put words to what some of us are feeling, so thank you, for sure.
Yeah, and we got the numbers out by Friday, but usually the intent is to also have the presentation out by Friday as well. I think we knew ahead of this meeting that this would be an extreme turnaround with our CSFA application and with the interim reports because of the early time of the board meeting this month, but also the need to include January financials to get them to be approved to go out. So my apologies for that, but normally, yeah, Friday before is what we'll intend, and I'm happy to sit down with anyone and walk them through things.
Yeah, Peter, just for your edification, we are instituting the policies and procedures on how to get all of these items up in the drop boxes at an earlier time. Because you recall when I was on the board, it was kind of the same lament that I had about getting information into the drop box in time. So we are working on that. We will meet tomorrow, as a matter of fact, to discuss the procedures we can use to make the whole process of getting the items to the board members in a timely fashion. So your comments are well taken, and we will focus on them.
You didn't mention it right now, Nick, but I'm hoping and assuming that in that discussion tomorrow, we'll also assure that this information shows up on a timely basis on the website as well for the public to know.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'd like to now then entertain a motion to accept the budget update and approval for the second interim period.
Yeah, and I was a little bit for the traffic. When we're doing a teleconference, we have to do roll call votes.
Yeah.
I completely blanked on that when we were doing the 2 other votes.
Okay.
But we do have to do roll call votes when we're doing a teleconference.
Okay, let's have a roll call vote then. Well, first of all, your motion, is there a second on the board?
Second.
Second.
Okay, we're going to have,
All right, so Chair Quiroz, how do you vote?
yes,
To accept.
to accept.
Member Lopez?
I vote yes to accept.
And Member Hanley?
Yes.
To accept, okay. That's 3 out of 3.
Thank you. The item passes.
Can we, is there anything that we can prioritize in the rest of the agenda
That's what I asked.
that needs to be done tonight and that can wait till the next meeting? It's now 9:20.
Sure. Well, I'll start. I am happy the 2021 slides, if you want me just to push that to the next meeting. There's like 3 slides.
Okay, can we do that?
If there's no urgency, we
I don't think, I mean, it's information about next year's budget, so it's just,
Okay,
it will
so-
take 4 minutes, but I'm happy
So
to push it
we're
back.
going to then postpone item 7.3.
No, that's 7.3.
Is that it? 2021 you said?
Oh, no, sorry. I was just the rest of my presentation. It wasn't finished.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
But I was saying, if you guys are tight for time, this, I think, is something that could be shared next month, and it would be okay.
But the
Okay.
updated approval of the second entrance has been voted
That,
on.
yes,
been done.
that was the part.
That was the action item we needed to
Yes,
take.
yes.
Okay. So Nick, I'm going to ask you, is there anything here in the,
We can skip the CEO report.
okay?
We
And
can update it next week. Unfortunately, 7.1 through 7.4 are action items.
through 7.4?
Through 7.7.
7.1 through 7.7.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And all of this, we need it for today?
Yes.
Okay.
I will be, Ms. V and I are presenting, and we will be very brief.
Okay, so
Of
we're
course, you're
going,
welcome to ask as many questions and make it as long as you like, but our presentations are brief.
okay. So let's then have staff present on item 7.1,
Yes.
foster youth policy.
Okay. Yeah, I got you. We have to take a 2-minute break for our translator, however.
I need a couple minutes. I've been translating since 6.
Yeah, okay.
We need a drink, so 2-minute break.
Your presentation, 7.1.
Should I call the roll once again?
Yes. Yes.
All right, meeting's reconvening. It's 9:28 p.m. Board Chair Quiroz, present.
Present.
Okay. Board Member Lopez, are you present?
Present.
Board Member Hanley, are you present?
Yes, don't care.
Okay, proceed. Quorum is reestablished. That's 3 of 5 reporting. And Chair Quiroz, we're on item number.
Item number, I'm sorry, 7.1, the foster youth policy.
Tonight, I'm asking the board to approve a policy addressing foster youth placements at AMETHOD Public Schools. We recommend approval. This policy will satisfy the requirements of Assembly Bill 490, focused on ensuring foster youth are given access to high-quality education in an environment deemed to be least restrictive and the best fit for their educational needs. The summary of the key issues, I'll just walk you through really quickly here, is that the Assembly Bill requires that schools designate a foster youth liaison to assist the foster youth and their guardian in making the best decision related to the foster youth's education. The policy creates a situation where the school liaison assists the student and their guardian in carrying out the decisions made by the guardian and the student. In short, the liaison ensures the foster youth is granted access to the educational program that the foster youth and their guardian deem to be in that student's best interest. You've had a chance to look at the policy. We have our one liaison per region. Our regional superintendents will serve as liaisons. To date, I'm not aware of any foster youth that we have enrolled here at AMETHOD schools. That doesn't mean we don't have any, but there's been none identified. And say, for instance, the policy would cover students, say they are living with a guardian outside of Richmond in another area. If it was in the student's best interest, in their opinion, in their guardian's opinion, it would be our responsibility to ensure that they are able to continue attending here if that's what is the least restrictive environment for them. And also, were they to think that they needed to move on to another environment, we'd ensure that all the appropriate student data is transferred to the next environment as well.
And there's a point of clarification. This is a new policy.
Correct.
Okay.
In the past, we had a homeless youth policy, which reads very similarly, but not one specifically designed for foster youth.
Okay. And this is a requirement of the new Assembly bill?
Yeah.
Okay.
So my question is, has our council reviewed this?
This has not been reviewed by our own council. This is based on CDE guidance.
On CDE guidance?
Correct.
So did they give you a draft? Did they give you a draft policy to?
Yes, it was very much a checklist. Yes.
To craft this from?
Yes.
Who wrote this? How do we write this policy? How do we know what to put in it?
This was based on the checklist provided by the CDE.
Okay.
Was it in the form of a template or?
Does CCSA provide like a draft policy?
This was not cross-referenced with anything from the CCSA.
It was just done by a CDE checklist.
Correct.
And it appears also to be.
You're confident that this covers all the bases, though?
I am confident that it covers the basis, yes.
Okay.
And it's customized to include the names and the contact information on the two specific liaisons.
Correct.
Okay.
And also to accommodate for our model.
Mm-hmm. Are there any other questions from the board? Can I entertain a motion to accept the foster youth placement policy as presented by staff?
Make a motion.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All
Okay.
right, I'll call the roll.
Call the roll, please.
Board Chair Quiroz, how do you vote?
I vote yes to accept the policy.
Board Member Lopez, how do you vote?
Yes, to accept the policy.
Member Hanley, how do you vote?
Yes.
All right, motion
Okay,
carries.
motion carries. Thank you. Item 7.2, we have public comment again. Ms. Maria Collar. 7.2 on the topic ACES renewal for Benito Juarez and DCA.
Otra vez, mi nombre es Mariela Cuellar, madre Benito Juárez.
Once again, Mariela Cuellar. I'm a mother of children at Benito Juarez.
A mí me gustaría hablar sobre el programa después de escuela, ACES. Yo tengo muchas cosas buenas que decir del programa después de escuela.
I would like to talk about after-school programs, the ACES. I have a lot of positive things to say regarding the after-school programs.
Mis hijas, que son gemelas en cuarto grado, a ellas les encanta el programa después de escuela.
My daughters, who are twins in 4th grade, they love their after-school program.
Ellas me han dicho que prefieren venir al programa después de escuela en vez que a la escuela regular, y eso me da mucho gusto. Me encanta quisiera que me dijeran que quisieran venir siempre a la escuela regular y después al after school.
They say that they prefer to go to the after-school program rather than regular school, and that makes me very happy. I mean, I wish they said that they prefer first to go to school and then the after-school program.
Hay Hay muchas actividades que me dan mucho gusto porque estoy viendo que el presupuesto se está gastando para los niños.
And there's a lot of activities that they like to do, and that makes me happy because I see that the budget is being spent on the kids.
El presupuesto del programa después de escuela es bueno, debería ser más para que los niños tengan mejores actividades enriquecedoras.
The budget for after-school programs is good. It should be more so that they have more enriching activities.
Cuando veo el presupuesto que casi ni se ve en el presupuesto que presentaron ahorita y versus el programa después de escuela, yo pienso que deberíamos alocar más dinero del presupuesto general para el programa después de escuela.
When I see the budget that you almost can't see here versus what's spent on the after-school program, I think we should allocate additional funding for the after-school program.
Yo quiero agradecer a la señorita, a la señora Samperio y a todo su personal. Mis hijas están contentas y como digo, eso me gusta y tengo que decir las cosas que mis hijas me dicen porque por eso estoy aquí presente, para aprender, para decir lo que ellas me dicen y para continuar y que seamos más activos en el programa de escuela.
And I want to thank Ms. Sanperio and all of her staff because my daughters are very happy, and I have to say what they tell me because that's why I'm here present. And I think we should all participate more in the after-school programs.
Y la verdad, yo siento que Miss Samperio es una coordinadora que da su corazón y espero que todas las personas estén motivadas a dar más de sí mismos. Gracias.
And really, I think the truth is that Ms. Sampiro gives all of her heart, and I hope that everyone feels motivated to give more of themselves. Thank you.
Gracias. Okay, staff.
Good evening, Stephen Ajani, presenting on behalf of our operations and compliance team. Reaching out for approval, a retroactive approval, to submit the renewal application for BJE and DCA's ACES program. The materials that were submitted to you, the program guides, were submitted on November 22nd. As mentioned before, these provide the small group and one-on-one tutoring and the enrichment activities that happen after the after-school program.
And my only question, which is not a big way, is the timeliness here in terms of the retroactive approval of this. Is there any impact in terms of it being, submitted without board review and approval?
Not to my knowledge. That's why we went for the retroactive.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why it's on today.
Are there questions from the board?
I move approval.
Is there a second on approving the presented budget request?
I second that.
Okay, can we have a roll call? Having a second, David, a roll call on the motion to accept.
Yes, Board Chair
The
Quiroz, how do you
renewal.
vote?
Yes, I approve.
Board Member Lopez, how do you vote?
Yes, I approve.
And Board Member Hanlon?
Yes.
All right,
Okay.
that's 3 of 3.
Motion is approved to accept the renewal for the after-school program. Thank you.
Okay.
Item 7.3, the Richmond Region Academic Calendar 2021. We have public comments from Maria Lacoya, 7.3.
Yo lo voy a hacer en inglés ahora, para que descanse. My name is Mariela Cuellar. Like I mentioned, I'm a mother of Benito, Juarez Elementary, my twin daughters. I just want to, even though I'm not coming next year, because this is our last year, at the AMETHOD Public Schools. I just want to say that I need consistency on the calendar school year. This calendar year for this school year has been a mess, especially on the report cards, progress report cards. We haven't really gotten them on time like it says on the calendar. So I would like to see consistency on that, especially because I've been sometimes asking for the report cards. There's like holidays, and the report card dates are on there, and it says when they have to be given to parents. And for me, it's very important that I receive that. And also another thing that I want to mention is that on the report cards or on the grade or on the progress report cards, because they're the grades and the progress, sometimes there is a discrepancy. I don't know why they're doing this, but on the report card or the grades, it says, for example, Miss Gianni Briseño was one of my twins' teacher, but her name didn't appear on the report card. It appeared Miss Aberly. I don't know why they do that, but I don't know why they do that, because that's not my daughter's teacher. Miss Aberly is the principal, the site director, whatever you want to call her. So I would like to see consistency on the report card. We don't have to be telling the teacher to give it to us when it says on the calendar that it's given on that given date. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cuellar. So staff, who's going to present on subject 7.3?
So basically, just coming up here for approval of the academic school calendars. Just one thing to note, we're going online next year. So all our report cards, because it's a hot mess, I agree, sometimes it is, because there are technical issues. So every parent will be given a parent portal, so they can be looking at their grades consistently when they're entered. So we are moving to a new system, SIS, called Infinite Campus. So our parents will be able to see up to date the grades that are being inputted into their report cards, or progress reports. I'm big on report cards being submitted to parents, because we have to do a whole system-wide, internet data. So report cards, we never fail on that. Perhaps we might not give it to the parents on that Friday, but we get to give it to them on Monday, so the data is inside of the portal. But we are going to have parents have portals to their grade books. And I think a lot of schools around us, like West Contra Costa, we're trying to be like West Contra Costa, because they're going all online, so we're going to try to do the same thing here in Richmond. So I'm just asking for approval. We'd adhere to 180 days, instructional minutes. And we are trying to mimic West Contra Costa as well, because we know parents have students that go to other schools in the district. And so we're just trying to make sure that our parents, it's easy for them to get their kids to all the schools, and they have the time off, and kids have the time off as well. So I'm just basically asking. It's a draft, so we do still have some parent conferences that we're working on, but this would be the school calendar for the next year for Richmond, for the Richmond region.
Isn't this the reclassification? Isn't this the reclassification policy?
This is still the calendars.
We're on calendars?
Yeah, this is item.
This is the reclassification policy.
Peter, we're talking item 7.3, Richmond region.
7.3 is English language learner plan.
On your
Dropbox, 7.3 is English language learner plan.
Well, let's see what you are looking at.
This conference is no longer being recorded. This conference will now be recorded.
I'm showing 7.3 is Richmond Region Academic Calendars. So
That's not what's coming up in my Dropbox. It's English language learner plan.
Does it have to be refreshed? David?
I just refreshed it, and it doesn't change it.
What is, just curiosity, your 7.2, what does that show on your?
Our
Are you looking at the board meeting that's 2/19/20 or the one that's 2/19/2020? There's some redundancy there. I think you're in the wrong folder.
2/19/20.
Yeah,
Okay,
look at the
20
one with the 4 digits, 2020.
Look at the one that says 2020.
It's at the top of the list.
Okay. Okay.
Got it?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, I do have a clarifying question. So for the remaining academic year, it's going to continue to be on a manual basis? And this will be implemented for next?
For next year, yes.
Okay, starting September of next year?
August, yes.
Oh, August.
And yeah, for next year. And then we're going to come up hopefully next month to do the Oakland region. It's just that OUSD hasn't sent out their calendar, so we want to maybe, go along with their
Okay, and you're then seeking board approval?
Yes.
Okay, any questions? Peter, do you have a question?
The folder won't open.
I'm assuming you have Wi-Fi connectivity there, right?
It's the home office, I hope so.
Oh, darn.
Yeah, now it opens. Yeah,
All right.
now it opens.
All right.
Who's our carrier?
All right. Can you hear us now?
Okay. Now it opened.
All right.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, we got, okay. So can I entertain a motion to accept the 2021 Richmond academic calendar as presented by staff?
Can I make a motion to carry the 2020-2021 Richmond academic calendar forward?
And is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Having a second now, can we please have a roll call vote?
Board Chair Quiroz?
Yes?
Board Member Lopez?
Yes.
Board Member Hanley?
Yes.
That's 3 of 3 voting to carry the motion.
Motion carries. Thank you. Okay. Item 7.4, Williams complaint notice. Staff going to discuss that?
Good evening once again. I would note to all the board members that items 7.4 and 7.5 really can be viewed as kind of tandem items. They're both the results of federal monitoring of Benito Juarez Elementary. Every so often, schools are selected at random to be part of a federal monitoring program. Any schools that receive title funding could be subject to it, and it's an audit of the school's programming. And one of the things that we learned in the audit was that our uniform complaint procedures needed some updating and refurbishing. A Williams complaint is a type of uniform complaint. It's a complaint that can be made if there's insufficient materials for a student or the facilities are in a state of disrepair where instruction is not likely to take place. It could be anything from an extremely dirty bathroom to a dangerous leaking roof. That would be a type of Williams complaint. So in item 7.4, you'll see in the folder there are 2 main documents. One is the policy that our compliance manager crafted in coordination with the auditor, and one is the notice that's posted in each classroom. So students and parents coming to the school know that they can lodge these types of complaints. We recommend approval. It will satisfy the requirements of the CDE, uniform complaint procedure, and provide visible documentation for every student and parental of their rights regarding student right to educational materials and quality facilities.
Could I ask you not to put zip files into the Dropbox I don't have WinZip on my phone.
Oh.
I can't open the file. I read it. I think I read it at home on my computer, but I can't open a zip file on my phone.
You got it, and you didn't even need to ask because Luis had a hard time figuring out how to print the PDFs that come out of the zip file, so that's a non-starter from here on out.
Okay, and are we seeking,
approval of the policy.
and
I'll move approval of the policy.
is there a second on the policy approval?
Second.
Can we please have a roll call vote on the motion?
Point of clarification, I'm not a board member obviously, but is the vote on 7.4 the Williams complaint notice?
Yes, it's on 7.4, the Williams complaint notice.
I want to make that clear.
If I were to reorder these things, that would be actually 7.5, but yeah.
Okay, but it also, you mentioned it includes the policy and the notice, all?
Yes, sir.
All under 7.4.
Yes, sir.
That should be noted in the motion.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So the policy and the accompanying notice to be posted in each class.
Okay.
So I've heard a motion, I'm going to call roll.
Except we have public comment on 7.5.
Could we vote on 7.4
Yes.
first? All right. Board Chair Quiroz?
Yes.
Board Member Lopez?
Yes.
Board Member Hanlon?
Yes.
That's 3 out of 3 carrying the motion.
Okay, now we're moving to 7.5, the revision of the uniform complaint procedure. And we have public comments from Ms. Mariela Cuellar on the 7.5 item.
Mariela Cuellar, yo tengo muchas preguntas sobre esta forma de queja.
Mariela Cuellar, I have many questions regarding this form, this complaint form.
Cuando ustedes tienen la queja en línea, dice IRS, que es Internal Resolution Services. ¿Esa es la misma que Uniform Complaint Procedure? ¿Eso es lo mismo o es diferente?
When you have this online, it says IRS, which is Internal Resolution Service. Is that different from the Uniform Complaint Procedure? Is that the same or is it different?
Me gustaría que me aclaren eso porque yo he puesto varios quejas con el IRS sobre aprendices de inglés, sobre conductas de algunos personal que trabaja para las AMETHOD, y recientemente puse una queja sobre algo que le pasó a mi hija que es inaceptable, acerca de un toque inapropiado sobre a un estudiante de la misma clase hacia ella y que también lo está haciendo con otras niñas. Y me gustaría que ustedes vieran esto realmente cómo funciona.
I would like to clarify this because I've filled out various of these IRS forms regarding the EL, the English learners, and also regarding some behavior from personnel that work for AMETHODs. And finally, regarding something that happened recently to my daughter that was unacceptable, in which another child in her class that touched her inappropriately, and this child is also doing it to other girls, and I would like you to take this seriously.
Conducta también inapropiada de varios niños entre los salones de cuarto, 4B y cuarto C, y eso yo ya lo hablé con la señora Averly, y también lo puse en correo electrónico y lo puse en la queja de IRS, que ustedes, es lo que está en los AMETHODs, para que uno se queja.
Inappropriate conduct also that various boys are doing in classroom 4B and 4C, and I've already discussed this with Ms. Averly, and I've also sent an email in addition to making a complaint on the IRS form, and that's from the AMETHOD site.
El asunto está en investigación. Yo mandé un correo también a la administración con la forma. No me han respondido que lo han recibido. Voy a estar en contacto con Miss Averly, pero quiero que alguien de la administración me escriba y me diga que recibieron la forma de queja.
And so the matter is being investigated. I sent an email to the administration and I haven't received a response saying that it has been received. I'm in contact and I'll be in contact with Ms. Averly, but I want someone from administration to answer me saying that they've received the complaint.
También para la forma esta de Williams, como los padres, él dice que vamos a estar poniéndolo aquí en alrededor, pero los padres, ¿cómo vamos a saber de esta forma de Williams Complaint Notice?
And also for this form, the Williams form, he said that they're going to put it here, around here, but how are the parents to find out about this, the Williams complaint notice? Thank you.
Gracias. Thank you.
Could someone make sure that, it's unclear to me if she's filed a uniform complaint. If she's filed a uniform complaint, could someone make sure that the process is being followed?
We've received no uniform complaints.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
just
That's all I wanted to say. If she's filed it, I just want to make sure the process is being filed. If she hasn't filed it, then that's okay.
No filing. We have not received a uniform complaint from any site.
Thank you.
Okay.
I want to make sure that I'm following now the sequence here. So, are we now going to review item 7.5, the revision, or what we included that in the motion 7.4?
It was not included in the motion.
It was
It's a
not.
separate item.
Okay. So now we can hear a presentation from staff after public comment we heard on 7.5.
Yes. So 7.5 is the revision of our previously standing uniform complaint procedure. This is a policy that was originally approved in 2007, revised in 2009, and now again in 2020. Again, this is a result of federal program monitoring audit that our compliance manager is working with our auditor on. And what we've significantly done to update the policy is laid out in bullet point the following programs that are covered by a UCP. Some of these programs are not even applicable to what we do within our organization, but they're all laid out in the policy. Another major change that you'll see is in the different types of discrimination protected against in the UCP is the additional language of harassment, intimidation, bullying that's been added throughout the document. And also at the end, notice that any of these complaints and responses are indeed public records and accessible through the filing of the PRA.
And would you just outline it? Are there revisions?
Those are the key revisions in the document. Yes.
So tell me why. I mean, we don't have an adult school. We don't have an agricultural technical education. So why are we including those?
Only on the recommendation of the auditor that we just list in the entirety all the different programs that are covered by this policy. Obviously, we don't have them, so it's kind of a moot point, but it was recommended to us to follow the belt and suspenders method, so we did.
It sounds like just a bureaucratic exercise,
right.
You know, to be an umbrella type of policy on all these areas. Okay. And staff's recommendation?
Staff recommendation is to approve the revision based on our audit findings.
Okay. Are there any questions, additional questions from the board? Can I entertain a motion to then accept the revised, the revisions of the uniform complaint procedure policy?
Make a motion that we move forward with the revision. uniform complaint procedure policy.
Hearing a motion, is there a second to the motion?
I'll second it.
Having a second, yeah. Can we now have a board roll vote, please?
Board Chair Quiroz, how do you vote?
Yes.
Board Member Lopez, how do you vote?
Yes.
Board Member Hanley, how do you vote?
Yes.
That's 3 of 3. Motion carries.
Motion carries. Thank you.
And can you guys ask about the internal resolution services complaint form? Because that's the one that I fill out and no one has answered me. So the uniform complaint form, is that in the AMETHOD website?
Yes. I can show you.
No, but what I mean is the IRS, who's looking at those forms? Who is?
If you want to discuss this after the meeting, we can discuss it after the meeting.
It's not for the board.
Well,
I'm happy to talk to you about it, though.
well, you should guys have an item on the IRS, because when I see IRS, I have to pay taxes, that's what I.
Let's move on.
Yeah.
Let's move on, it's 10 o'clock.
I'll talk to you after.
So we're gonna have one more public comment on item 7.6 from Mariana Cuellar. And this is on the topic of the English language learner reclassification policy.
Para mí es muy molesto comentar cuando yo no he visto la presentación. He leído lo que está en los papeles. Para mí es importante la reclasificación. Mis hijas, las tres, son aprendices de inglés. Mi hija mayor estuvo en RCA.
For me, it's very annoying having to give the comment before I've seen the presentation. I've read the documents. Reclassification of English learners is important to me. My 3 daughters are English learners. My oldest was in RCA.
Mi mayor no ha sido reclasificada, ahorita está en Helms. Yo luché mucho para que hubiera un comité ILAC en RCA, en Benito Juarez, donde que llegué aquí. Mis gemelas fueron reclasificadas en segundo grado.
And my daughter still has not been reclassified. Right now she's in Helms. I fought very hard for there to be an ELAC committee in RCA and Benito Juarez. And my twins have been reclassified.
No, sí ya se reclasificaron.
My twins were reclassified in 2nd grade.
Una de las cosas muy interesantes que aprendí es que nunca habían hecho una ceremonia para los niños aprendices de inglés hasta que mis hijas se reclasificaron.
One thing very interesting that I learned is that there had never been a ceremony for the English learners until my daughters my twin daughters were reclassified.
Esta póliza, es que para mí es interesante que ustedes estén haciendo cambios cuando desde el principio que abrieron estas escuelas tenían que haber pólizas en lugar, puestas en lugar, donde los niños aprendices de inglés tengan el mayor soporte.
And this policy, I think it's very interesting that you all are making changes when from the beginning, from the opening of the school, there should have been policies in place so that there could be support for English learners.
Y esto yo sé que no viene de ustedes, viene del Estado, viene del Departamento de Educación. Son códigos educacionales que se tienen que seguir por ley.
And I know this isn't coming from you, this is coming from the state, from the education department. They're requirements that you have to follow by law.
Los aprendices de inglés, como dije, soy muy apasionada en eso porque yo vine de 15 años a este país, aprendí inglés, estoy aprendiendo inglés. Y una de las cosas que yo quiero hacer recalcar mucho es que se gaste el dinero en los niños aprendices de inglés, que se les dé el apoyo y también que se eduque a los padres, porque muchos papás ni saben que sus hijos están tomando el LPAC, no sabían que estaban tomando el CELT, que fue reemplazado por el LPAC. Entonces tenemos que educarnos bien y empezando con los papás. Tiene que haber talleres para que los papás sepan y los niños sepan por qué están tomando este examen.
The English language learners, I've said it before, I'm very passionate about that because I came here to this country when I was 15 years old and I learned English, I'm learning English, and one of the things that I want to highlight very much is that there's money that should go to English learners so that they have support, and also parents should be educated because they don't know why their kids are taking the LPAC, why they're taking the CEL, which is then later replaced by the LPAC. We have to educate ourselves so that both the students and their parents know why they're taking the LPAC.
Thank you, Ms. Cuellar. So can staff please speak to item 7.6?
Yes, good
the
evening.
EL reclassification policy.
Stephen Ajani, here seeking approval for a reclassification policy. This policy was put together by our DLAC committee. Our DLAC committee consists of our Richmond Regional Superintendent, our education consultant, and our operations and compliance manager. Similar to the foster youth policy, the policy was crafted by following CDE guidelines.
Are there any questions from the board?
Move approval.
Having a motion, is there a second?
I second.
Now having a second, can we please have a roll call vote on the motion to accept the EL reclassification policy?
Board Chair Quiroz,
Yes, I accept.
Board Member Lopez,
Yes, I accept.
Board Member Hammond.
Yes.
That's 3 of 3, motion carries.
Motion carries. Thank you very much. And could we now have staff present on item 7.7, the J13A Downtown Charter Academy?
So we had a major leak at Downtown Charter Academy, and we are requesting allowance from the Department of Ed due to an emergency condition. We had to close the school down on Monday and Tuesday, January 13th and January 14th. We couldn't hold classes. Everything was wet, so we had to, get the water out of there. So we dismissed students on Mondays. We did not hold class. We didn't even take time for attendance. And so we assessed the problem on Monday and figured out we couldn't hold class on Tuesday. So what we're doing is that we're appealing to the state, hoping that they give us our full day's worth of 88. And as earlier stated, 80 is very important. Due to that, we had to close the school down for those 2 days. And so we're asking your permission for us to file the J13A so that we can receive our funding for those 2 days.
Information, question.
Yes.
Question.
Approval.
The question real quick.
I just forgot what I was going to ask. I'm sorry. So the approval that you're seeking is for the submission of this request?
Yes, sir. We
Okay.
need a
Board.
signature from all of them.
Okay, very good. And we have a motion to accept the staff recommendation. Is there a second?
I second.
Having a second, can we please have a roll call vote?
Chair Quiroz, how do you vote?
Yes?
Member Lopez?
Yes.
And Member Hammond?
Yes.
That's 3 voting in the affirmative, motion passes.
And with that, the meeting is adjourned at 10 minutes and 7 p.m. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, everyone.
Peter, thank you so much.